go down. Good morning, and welcome to the Tampa City Council, held on this date today, August 25th, 2022. Councilwoman Hurtak, I believe you have the invocation?
Yes, I do.
If we could all please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Today, I am thrilled to have Cheryl Schroeder with us, and she represents the West Central Florida Labor Council, the local chapter of the AFL-CIO. She guides advocacy on behalf of 80,000 union member families in Tampa Bay through collaboration with leadership of numerous local unions. Her organization is focused on ensuring that we help our local communities with common sense and fiscally responsible government leadership, and on legislation and elected officials that understand the needs of working families. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me. Good morning.
Morning.
On Monday, September the 5th, we will celebrate Labor Day, a holiday that was established to honor workers and began with a parade and picnic in New York City in 1882. This effort and many struggles that followed in the coming years built a momentum as workers organized across the country, unions became strong, and over the next 50 years built the middle class. Since that first Labor Day, labor unions have played a central role in the elevation of the American standard of living. The benefits which unions have negotiated for their members are widespread in the economy and enjoyed by fellow workers outside the labor movement. It can be hard to remember that what we take for granted, overtime pay, pensions, health and safety laws, vacation days, restrictions on child labor, a minimum wage, and the right to organize for collective bargaining never existed on any meaningful scale until unions fought and won them for working people. Today, labor unions are the one and only voice for workers. We continue tirelessly to protect these gains for all workers, union or not. Through political action and organizing, we educate our members to stop the attacks to our values of equality, racial and economic justice, and fair treatment in the workplace. We safeguard the freedom to join a union, the freedom to earn a living wage, the freedom to access health care, and the freedom to vote. Labor unions are seeing a surge in worker organizing that isn't happening by accident. From Amazon warehouses to coffee shops to university campuses and beyond, working people are organizing and rising. This momentum is the product of decades of worker frustration driven by low wages, unsafe workplaces, unaffordable health care, and a lack of respect and dignity on the job. We support these efforts to build our movement and rebuild the middle class. Labor Day, it's a hard-earned holiday coming out of the struggles of working people for the 8-hour day and the right to organize unions. It is time to honor the sacrifices by many of our union members in expanding their rights and freedoms over decades to create better lives for ourselves and our families. We invite you to join us in the fight to build a stronger democracy and protect our freedoms, to not move backwards, always forwards. Thank you, and please allow me to informally invite you to our Labor Day celebration to be held on Monday, September the 5th in Apollo Beach. Hope to see you there. Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks again, Lynn.
Please be seated. Roll call.
Carlson.
Here.
Vieira. Maniscalco.
here.
Hurtak.
Here.
Booths.
Here.
Miranda.
Here.
Citro.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Massey.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. This is the August 25, 2022 meeting of the City of Tampa City Council held in City Council chambers on the third floor of Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard here in Tampa, Florida. The public is able to attend this meeting in person or view it via cable television on Spectrum Channel 640 or Frontier Channel 15, or by the internet via www.tampa.city city.gov/livestream. The public is also able to participate in this meeting during public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker, either here in person in City Council chambers or virtually by way of Communication Media Technology or CMT. However, the use of CMT does require pre-registration with the City Clerk's office. Directions for pre-registration are included in the notice of the meeting and on the agenda. Members of the public may also participate in quasi-judicial matters on this agenda, either remotely also via CMT, but cell phones and smartphones are not compatible as they will not allow your camera when connected. You must have access to a CMT device such as a tablet or computer equipped with a camera and a microphone that will enable you to be able to be both seen and heard by City Council and all other participants in a quasi-judicial matter. Can I please have a motion waiving the City Council standard rules to allow public comment and appearance by city administrative staff and the public via CMT?
We have a motion made by Councilman Good, second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Is there any objections? Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Good.
Before you get started, point of personal privilege, sir. I want to officially welcome my new legislative aide, Ms. C.T. Harris. She comes from a wealth of knowledge, and she's already hit the ground running. So, Council, I want to introduce you to some, now to all, Ms. C.T. Harris. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
All right. Or Mr. Good, excuse me, Councilman Gooch, you have a commendation for an ATU member.
Again, good morning, Mr. Chairman and council members. We have the distinct pleasure of honoring one of our ATU members. I see we brought the whole gang this morning, huh? Which is good. We want to give honor to Jorge Hernandez.
Yes, sir.
And Jorge is one of our AT workers. Apparently, he works in the fire marshal's division. And again, let me just read a few things. In recognition of Jorge Hernandez, the ATU Employee of the Month, for your hard work and dedication as a Fleet Maintenance 3 with the Tampa Fire Rescue Maintenance Division, Jorge began his career with the City of Tampa in 2012. Jorge works countless hours and at times under extreme conditions, all in the aspects of Tampa Fire's marine vessels. Jorge's determination and dedication not to stop repairs until the unit is back in service, example of multiple instances of his hard work. Jorge's work is critical to keeping the city safe. What I want to say about that is those vehicles, just like police vehicles, they depend on those vehicles. Right, Sal? That's right. We want a good running vehicle to get there, and fire depends on those vehicles to be up to the par. So if you, the mechanic working on them, I praise you because, I tell you, getting greasy and getting grimy and getting it back to work, these guys will praise you for that. So, again, for your hard work and dedication, the City Council of Tampa is proud to present the commendation to Jorge, who exemplifies the type of employee who everyone admires, respects, and cheers to success. You are a great asset to the City of Tampa. I say thank you, congratulations to you. I'm going to let Mr. Simon come over and talk. I did it kind of out of order because it's been a wild, crazy day, but I'm going to let him talk a little bit more, but I want to make sure we recognize you because for the fine work you do, especially when you're dealing with those vehicles. Steve?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Council. Good morning, City of Tampa. I'm Steve Simon, President of ATU Local 1464, and I'm happy to present to you the ATU Employee of the Month, Mr. George Hernandez. George Hernandez is a professional, veteran technician nearing 20 years, well, actually, he's just crossed over his 20-year mark, to the City of Tampa, and specifically within Tampa Fire Rescue Maintenance. Mr. Hernandez works countless hours and at times under extreme conditions on all aspects of Tampa Fire Rescue's marine vessels. From small 10-horsepower outboard engines to the state-of-the-art FB-1, the Patriot, which is a 32,000 horsepower fire rescue ship, he does it all. There have been multiple instances where a TFR fireboat was able to respond and make a life-saving rescue or extinguish a boat fire because of Mr. Hernandez's determination and dedication to not stop repairs until the unit is back in service. Whether it's working on a ship or repairing TFR's fire apparatus, George's work is critical to keeping the city safe. Mr. Hernandez has always been and continues to be instrumental for the success of keeping Tampa Fire Rescue Marine units operational and available to respond to the needs of the public and in and around the waterways of the city of Tampa. We thank you for all that you do day in and day out. We appreciate all of your contributions towards keeping the city of Tampa running. And I would like to present to you a letter from the mayor. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read that. Okay. All right. Dear George, congratulations on being selected as the Amalgamated Transit Union's Employee of the Month for your professionalism, strong work ethics, leadership, and for going above and beyond in all aspects in your position as a fleet mechanic too. You have demonstrated such a firm commitment and high standards from your hire date in August of 2002 and your dedication as a member of Tampa Fire Rescue Maintenance, ensuring marine vessels and fire apparatus are in optimum working order, has earned you the respect of your superiors and peers alike. You can see he's loved. You are well known as someone who is willing to do whatever it takes in making sure the fire boats are in outstanding condition so they are ready and able to protect our citizens and our city. No doubt your attention to detail and commitment has contributed to saving lives and property in many instances. You are an integral part of the city's mission of providing superior services, and your abilities, proficiency, and outstanding attitude make you highly deserving of this special recognition. You are an asset to the city of Tampa, the Logistics and Asset Management Department, Tampa Fire Rescue, and to our community. You are admired, well-respected, and set a shining example for others to follow. It is employees like you, George, that make me proud to serve as mayor. Thank you for your dedication and service. Sincerely, Mayor Jane.
All right.
Now, also, I'd like Director of Logistics and Asset Management Department, Adri Kalina, to say a few words, please.
Absolutely, it's my honor. Adri Colina, Director of Logistics and Asset Management. I want to thank you, Mr. Simon, for recognizing the behind-the-scenes team. And Councilman Goods, you said it perfectly. You know, when you call 911, you expect that fire truck to show up, that police vehicle to come to help you. And if it's not for this team and for people like George, they don't have reliable vehicles to get to you. So George is an outstanding employee, as you can see. He's a Tampa native, so doing this for his hometown. But there's no I in team. And so I've got to recognize his supervisor, Kevin Madison, his manager, Gary Stewart, and our fearless leader, Sal Ruggiero, who's just straight up gives us the tools we need. He supports us, and as a team, we're the best city department, and I'm a little biased, but I said it. So congrats, George. Thank you all very much.
And Council, if I may, I'd also like to bring up Deputy Administrator of Infrastructure, Sal Ruggiero, to say a few words.
Morning, Council. I just want to echo what everybody's saying, but I want you to know that we did assess fire fleet, and as a result, we're going to send 2 more mechanics over there October 1st to help with the backlog and getting these trucks out, and we want to beef up that unit. So October 1st, they get 2 more mechanics. Just wanted to let you know that.
Councilman
And I
Goods.
didn't mean to chop your name, they should have told me. When I see that spelling there, I think of the Spanish way, you know? Automatically, you know? But I know we have some goodies, then we'll get council to few words. Brian, come up first. You know, gentlemen, I always believe in fairness and equity. And for many years, our police and fire have received the game ball.
Yes, sir.
That will happen no more. The ATU will get a game ball, because when I used to be a police officer, these guys are out there setting up roads, doing certain things for events. They deserve the same across the board. So officially today, the Buccaneers will be giving a game ball to all general employees as well. And I want to thank you for being cooperative with that.
Thank you very much for bringing us that. Congratulations. Good morning, Council.
Mr. Ford, come in front of the podium so everybody can hear you. No,
This way, Brian.
The other side,
Hey.
so everybody can hear you.
Good morning, Council. Brian Ford. As Councilman mentioned, when he brought this award to my attention, we appreciate the behind-the-scenes efforts as well. And we have a tradition at $1. Anybody that goes over and above gets a game ball. So here's a little souvenir for you, sir.
Thank you so
We
much.
thank you and your family for all that you do for our city and our community. Thank you for recognizing this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
We got some other folks to bring a few goodies up to you. George?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, how you doing?
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
We do appreciate everything you do, and on behalf of a couple of different restaurants, we're going to provide you with a gift certificate to Yummy House China Bistro. You can go enjoy yourself over there. On behalf of on behalf of the Chicho's Group and Green Lemon, we're providing you with a gift certificate so you can go over there. And on behalf of Bella Brava, which is in the Midtown, you can go enjoy yourself over there. So congratulations, and I hope you enjoy that.
Thank you.
Here comes the union.
Good morning, Council. Andrew Carter, President, Tampa Firefighters Local 754. You've heard it, keeping our trucks rolling, keeping the boats floating, that's the most important thing. So the work you do, I want to appreciate. Thank you for everything you and the team does under Kevin said. Sal, thank you for 2 additional mechanics. That's going to make a big difference. On behalf of all the men and women of Tampa Firefighters, here's a gift card for you to enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll have you say a few words. I mean, council, give their blessing. Oh, we got some, hey, got more coming. See, now we're gonna start getting all these things like everybody else get too, you know? There we go.
Good morning, Council Miranda Hilton with Steps Towing. On behalf of Todd Steps and the Steps Towing family, thank you for all you do, and we'd like to present you with a gift card to the Outback Steakhouse restaurant. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And also, on behalf of ATU Local 1464, we appreciate everything that you do to help keep the city of Tampa running. And so we'd like to present you with a token of appreciation as well, $100 gift card.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I just want to thank everyone that came out today to, to support me and the city of Tampa and all the staff. It really means a lot to me, and I just want to thank everyone, and that's pretty much it.
All right. Council members?
Councilman Carlos.
Thanks so much for all you do. I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to meet you yet. If you ever need anything, let me know. But look forward to supporting you and all the great efforts that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the work that you do. It's a great honor to be honored as the ATU employee, and it's obvious by your charisma, your demeanor, and the many people that have showed up here for you that you do great work and that people support you, and that's what's important. So thank you for all that you do, and God bless you.
Councilman Mascalco.
Congratulations. Thank you for everything. As Mr. Simon says, you keep the city running, and you are that guy, and with your team. So we appreciate it, because if it wasn't for you, you've heard it from everybody else. We wouldn't be moving forward and efficiently. So thank you for all that you do. Congratulations. Very well deserved.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Congratulations on 20 years and being chosen as the ATU local employee of the month. We absolutely appreciate everything you do, and I love these because I learn more about how the city runs, and it is true, we absolutely couldn't do it without you. And we were all wondering why the fire department was here this morning. We were like, oh my gosh, we don't have a commendation for them today, but they showed up for you, and I think that speaks volumes. So thank you for everything you've done. I know that the city of Tampa really appreciates your work, and everyone here who's come to support you does as well. Thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hernandez, thank you very much for everything you do. You keep things running like Simon says, and evidently you and I are keeping the barbers very, very thin.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And I'm very appreciative of the way you look. It makes me feel at home.
There you go.
But I want to thank you again, placer a conocerlo y sigue con viejito con Dios. Gracias por de 10 caballos a 32,000, from 10 horsepower to 32,000 horsepower. You're one hell of a guy. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir, thank you.
You're at Station 9.
Yes, sir.
Great station. Takes care of the moving parts, takes care of the fires and the emergencies. Thank you for all the work you've done. But more especially as you look around this room, thank you for being part of the family that is the city of Tampa. Thank you for all your work.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Vieira.
Mr. Chairman, it's a great pleasure to do the Officer of the Month here for Officer Jorge Tamargo. We're going to have Chief O'Connor talk a little bit about this fine gentleman's background. It's always the pleasure of Tampa City Council to honor our police officers under the Officer of the Month program as a very small gesture of appreciation, sincere appreciation for what they do. It's a level of appreciation that we do as representatives of the people of the city of Tampa who overwhelmingly, strongly support our police officers in the work that they do every single day. This is something that we do that reflects the values of the people who we have the honor of representing, who support our first responders, including those police officers who every single day put their life in danger to protect us, and none greater than Officer Tamargo here. So I will introduce Chief O'Connor, who will come and say some background on this fine young gentleman.
Good morning, City Council. Chief Mary O'Connor here with Officer George Tamargo. He's a 7-year veteran of the Tampa Police Department, and I just want to highlight a few things that he's done to deserve this fine recognition today. Since February 2021, Officer George Tamargo has been assigned to Street Anti-Crimes, Squad number 331 in District 3. During the month of May 2022, Officer Tamargo has played an integral part in the crime fight while displaying the ability to multitask during high-stress situations while requiring minimal supervision. Officer Tamargo is self-motivating and constantly reaches out to his units to assist with latent investigations and follow-ups. He has also developed a rapport with several citizens in District 3 that reach out to him daily. Some of the notable arrests during the month of May 2022 for Officer Tamargo include the following. On May 9th, Officer Tamargo attempted a traffic stop for an equipment violation and the vehicle fled. During this investigation, Officer Tamargo was able to develop leads for the suspect driver and locate the vehicle which he found abandoned. Officer Tamargo and his partner set up surveillance, witnessed the driver coming back to the vehicle, and was subsequently arrested without incident. A search of the vehicle revealed felony amounts of narcotics along with a firearm. The defendant was also on felony probation and was charged accordingly. On May 18th, Officer Tamargo witnessed an armed carjacking take place in front of King's Meat Market. Officer Tamargo and his partner were able to provide direction of travel for the 3 suspects, leading to the apprehension of 2 of the 3 suspects. In addition, the firearm used during the offense was recovered during the foot chase of the suspects. Officer Tamargo was able to interview the victim in this case, and through latent investigative techniques was able to identify the 3rd suspect. This suspect was from out of state, so the officer reached out to the Louisiana Police Department to obtain a photo of the suspect. He then created a photo pack which was shown to the victim, who subsequently identified the alleged suspect. He then completed an arrest warrant and reached out to the Fugitive Apprehension Unit, who were able to arrest the suspect after he fled back to his home state of Louisiana. During the week of May 25th, Officer Tamargo conducted 2 separate prostitution operations off Nebraska Avenue corridor after several citizen complaints. During the operation, a total of 11 people were arrested and 7 motor vehicles were seized during this quality of life investigation. This operation involved several officers from multiple squads in District 3, and Officer Tamargo was able to successfully manage the entire operation with minimal input from supervisors. These are just a few instances where this officer has gone above and beyond the scope of his duties. Officer Tamargo brings an enthusiastic demeanor to work each day, and his willingness to help the people of Tampa inspires his fellow squad mates. For these reasons, Officer George Tamargo has been selected as the Tampa Police Department's Officer of the Month for August 2022. And I'd like to mention that when we brought Officer Tamargo to the awards ceremony a couple of weeks ago at police headquarters, his squad was all there enthusiastically cheering him on. And when I mentioned that to him, that it was really honorable that his whole squad came on their day off to honor him, he said that this award was deserving of their recognition, not just his. So his teamwork is exemplary, and I just wanted to mention that to you. So we're very proud of Officer Tamargo, and we're happy to honor him today. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. We appreciate that. So before we proceed with the goodies, and we see we have some family members. Hey, what's your name, buddy? Or you can say his name. I'm sorry. Trey. Well, a nice kid. God bless him. Nice. But it's our great honor to present to Officer Jorge Tamargo the Tampa City Council Commendation for Officer of the Month. This is something that goes to him and to his wonderful family that supports him in his job. So if you'd like to say a few words, sir, and then afterwards we'll have members of the community come out and honor you, and then council will speak. Here you go, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you, Council, for having me today and honoring me with this award. I'm just the representative of this award. I'm not the one who deserves getting this award. There's hundreds and hundreds of officers who work every day, who put their uniforms on, kiss their families, and walk out the door not knowing if they're going to come back. They miss birthdays, vacations, special events. They are equally as deserving of this award. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my squad, SAC Squad 331, who on a daily basis hunts, finds, and arrests violent felons in and around East Tampa and helping keep that community safe. I would ask the council and anybody else here just one favor before I finish my remarks. When they leave this building today, next time they see a police officer, doesn't matter who, to extend their hand to that police officer and tell them thank you. Not the typical thank you for your service, but a sincere thank you for what they do and understanding of how they put their life on the line every day and how they help the city of Tampa. Thank you.
So, and it is our pleasure now to have members of the community come forward and express their great appreciation to Officer Tamargo. And I wanted to build on what he said. I always tell, whenever I talk to officers and firefighters, I always say that they run into situations that people like me run away from. And that's, and I always think that's a good, adequate description of what happens. So, go ahead.
Brandon Barclay, Vice President, Tampa PBA. Officer Tamargo, we're presenting you with this plaque. We appreciate your service. Obviously, the chief said all the phenomenal things both you and your squad do. We appreciate you, and the citizens are glad to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
President, PBA President.
Officer Tamargo, I'm Grace Gonzalez. I'm here on behalf of the Gonsmart family and the Columbia Restaurant, and I'm here to present you and your family with a gift card to the Columbia Restaurant for you to enjoy at any Columbia Restaurant location across Florida. Enjoy with your family some paella, sangria, a night off. You deserve it. Thank you so much for all of your service.
Thank you very much.
Miranda Hilton from Steps Towing. On behalf of Todd Stepp and the Steps Towing family, we thank you for all you do. We have a gift card to a restaurant for you, as well as a 5-hour limousine service for you and 18 of your closest friends to enjoy a night out on us. So thank you again.
Thank you very, very much.
For all you do.
Thank you.
Good morning again, council, chief. Officer Tamargo, you had one heck of a May, but more importantly, thank you, as you mentioned, for what you do day in and day out and the sacrifice that your family and you give to this community. And as an organization, the Glazer family, we just want to say thank you for all that you do, and congratulate you on this wonderful honor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, my name's Mary Lou Bailey. I'm here on behalf of Zoo Tampa. I serve on the board of directors there, and with me is...
I'm Mark Haney. I'm the Chief External Relations Officer with the zoo.
So I wanted to congratulate you, and I really appreciate your remarks of recognizing the entire force of Tampa Police. You guys all rock, but you're very special to have this distinguished honor, and so take it to your heart, enjoy it with your family. We're here to present you with an annual membership to Zoo Tampa, and I hope you and your family love it and have fun and come to love animals as much as Mark and I do. The annual pass also comes with admission to things like the upcoming Halloween events and the Christmas in the Wild events and all kinds of fun things that I hope you enjoy, and that you join our mission of saving animals like you save human lives. So thanks again.
Thank you very
Congratulations.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to give this to you.
Good morning, officer.
Good morning.
I'm Leah Van Name. On behalf of Tampa Theater, I'm honored to give you the gift of a membership. So you can come and visit us on Rankin Street, maybe a date night with your wife and candy for the little one. So
Thank you
thank
very,
you
very
so
much.
much. We
Thank you.
appreciate everything you do.
You're running out of hands. Steve Michelini, I'd like to congratulate you for your service to the city and its citizens. On behalf of Meat Market and Old Hyde Park, we're providing you with a gift certificate. Enjoy yourself over there for lunch or dinner. On behalf of Chicho's Restaurant Group, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. On behalf of Bella Brava at Midtown, you can go enjoy yourself for lunch or dinner. On behalf of the Tampa YMCA, you get a gift certificate to go over there. And Yummy House China Bistro, you can enjoy yourself there for lunch or dinner. Congratulations, we appreciate your service.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and next, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Carlson.
You go ahead.
Thanks so much thanks to you and your family for all your dedication and service, and now more than ever, we need your help and protection. And you know, the sign of a great leader is that they're willing to give credit to others, so we all see that, look forward to seeing you in higher level leadership sometime in the future.
Thank you.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Congratulations, very well deserved. Thank you for your sacrifice and your service, and thank you to your family. And speaking of family, I know that Tamargo's well. I see Cynthia right there, who's been a longtime friend of my mother's. You come from a great family, well respected in the community in West Tampa. So thank you for what you do, and thank you to your family for everything that they do. Very well deserved, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you for all the work that you do, especially in District 3, in an area that is suffering from gun violence. I know that the community supports you taking the guns off the street, and I really love to hear about your creativity and the ability to go above and beyond and do things with the support of your superiors, but not needing the hand-holding. I think that is a great sign of a true leader to come. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Councilman Goose.
Chairman, SAC squad, they brought that back, huh?
Yes, sir.
Brought the SAC squad back. In the brief that was given, I heard King's Market, eyesore of 22nd Street corridor. So I know the work that has to be done on that corridor and on Lake Avenue. So thank you for your work. I'm prayerful with the new economic development officer that we'll be able to get some development on Lake Avenue, that liquor store and King's Meat Market, that strip, and change that mall and some good housing and really give an impact to 22nd Street and Lake Avenue. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, the Tamargo family is very well known. I remember not many years, well, a lot of years back, there was a kid pitching at West Tampa. I don't know if it's part of your family. Kid named Tamargo, and he led in everything. So I don't know whatever happened. I don't know if he played any more ball after that, but I know he was a fantastic ball player. But that's not to say what you have done is unbelievable. When you look around and which way this country is going, let me put into prospects. More kids, young people under 21, are getting killed by gunfire than by traffic accidents. And that's shameful. Not that I want to see traffic accidents go up, no. When you look at countries, we have the distinct honor of being more death by gunfire under the same age, 21 and down, than the next 15 countries that have a subtype of government like we do. That's shameful. This country better get a hold of themselves, or what's coming here, no one can stop. I would imagine that even in this city, although we're doing great with Chief of Police Connors and the rest of the gentlemen and ladies that work at TPD, we're not heading in the right direction. It's up to all of us, not only the police department, all of us, to get behind and stop this stupidity of killing somebody. Just yesterday, Councilman Goods and I went to a bench dedication, and it was just pitiful to see somebody who was 21 years old, who had a 5.0 out of plant, who was a nurse and working at Tampa General, get shot by senseless individuals just shooting at a car. What worse can you have? Just put your shoes in those families, feel for a while and see how they feel. And because individuals like yourself and all the police and all the deputies and all of them that work in this country, you don't know if you're coming back, you're right. Because this country is getting senseless, it's getting stupid. You don't kill somebody without reparation. So they're killing each other for whatever reason. This is not 1820 when Billy the Kid was out there fighting in the West, doing whatever he wanted to do. This is society supposed to be better. I don't know what the problem is. If I did, we could solve it. I don't think anyone knows what the problem is, but it's a combination of many things, including when you're born, all you see on TV is violence, all you see on your cell phone is violence. It becomes, I guess, part of the norm. It cannot be part of the norm much longer. Thank you very much for what you do. God bless your family. God bless all of you with a badge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Officer Margaret, is your wife and son still here?
Yes.
Where's she at? I don't see them. Here. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your husband with us. Officer Margot, thank you for everything that you do for the citizens of Tampa. Thank you for being part of the family of Tampa. To your comments, when myself and my girlfriend go around to the things that we do, I walk up to every officer and I shake their hand. And they'll usually respond, Councilman, how you doing? Joseph, how you doing? My girlfriend will say, do you know every police officer in Tampa? I say, not yet. But I am going to meet everyone and thank them. And the last thing I say to them is, have a safe day. Officer DeMargo, thank you. Thank your family so much for everything you do. And Officer DeMargo, have a safe day.
Thank you, sir.
I got it.
Mr. Sullivan. Council members, it's been 60 years. 60 years since the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council has come into existence. When I moved here in 1974, and you would look out of the top of the first floor of the building, which was the only tall building in downtown Tampa, you would see distant lights. Clearwater, St. Petersburg. You would see distant lights down into Manatee County. and we were still separated. 60 years ago, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council brought us all together. Not only Hillsborough, but Pinellas, Manatee, Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus counties. Ladies and gentlemen, this region, this Tampa Bay region, is growing quickly. And it's no longer distant lights. So what's good for Tampa is good for St. Petersburg. What's good for Clearwater is good for Dunedin. What is good for Dunedin is good for Manatee County. What is ever good, we have to think more regionally on a lot of things. Technical assistance in local governments and meetings needs of the community is what the Tampa Bay Regional strives for. Support economic development, energy, preparedness, natural resources, regional transportation, affordable housing, all this in the Tampa Bay area. We had, and when I say we because I am a member, board member of this wonderful group, of this great council, had a successful REACH conference which discussed resiliency in the Tampa Bay area. They are also, I see a good friend in the back also, with the Courtney Campbell Causeway Scenic Highway Trail and improving it and making it safer for the people to visit there and for the trail and for the commute. So Mr. Sullivan is here representing the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, and I'd like to say this. It is with pleasure that the Tampa City Council recognizes the Tampa Bay Regional Council, who has for over 60 years served our citizens and member governments by providing forum to faster communications, coordination, and collaboration in identifying and addressing issues and needs regionally. They are recognized as Florida's only multi-purpose regional entity providing technical assistance to local governments and meeting the needs of the community. The Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council is strategic regional policy plan required by Florida statutes, which includes economic development, emergency preparedness, natural resources, regional transportation, affordable housing. The Tampa City Council is proud to recognize our 60th anniversary, as well as your excellent contributions to the quality of life for the citizens of Tampa Bay region on this day, the 25th of August, 2022. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Good morning. Thank you, Chair Citro, members of the City Council. For 60 years, the Regional Planning Council has really worked to convene the region. As recently as yesterday, we were advised that the Florida Department of Environmental Protection has awarded a resiliency grant in partnership with the Regional Planning Council with the City of Tampa. On September 8th, we are hosting an emergency management awareness event, if you will, at Port Tampa Bay with the Coast Guard, along with the Hillsborough and Tampa fire departments. So we continue to do our work. As the councilman mentioned, we're from Citrus County down to Manatee County. We are 3.8 million people, 5,000 square miles, the 5th largest economy in the United States. And if this region were its own region, it would have the 55th largest economy in the world. So as I like to say, the Tampa Bay region is a region to be reckoned with, and it's with great honor and distinction that we're proud to represent you as best we can, and we look forward to the next 60 years, Councilman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Benson, would you like to add a few words, please?
Thank you.
Great. I just want to say that Sean and his team are an invaluable resource to City of Tampa staff, planning department. Our resiliency initiatives would really, we would have not accomplished a lot we've been able to do without the support and the partnership of the Regional Planning Council. So thank you, Sean, for you and your staff for all you do for us.
Thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
Thank you to you and your organization for all you do. I'm a huge proponent of regionalism, and citizens don't see boundaries. They don't know where our council districts are. Most people don't know where the city limits are, and most people don't know where the county lines are. And if you want to see the impact of regionalism, look at the bridges every day. They're busy in both directions. And we know that 275, as one of our colleagues was stuck the other day, 275 is backed up all the time. I-4 is backed up all the time because people are traveling. They live in one place and work in another, and they have family and friends all over the place. So the more we can work together, the better our economy will continue to grow, and hopefully everyone will prosper. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations on 60 years, and like you said, we look forward to the next 60 years of partnership and collaboration throughout the entire region. We lift one another up. We stay resilient, become more resilient, and together we build a brighter future for everyone. So thank you for your work. Thank you to Chairman Citro, who serves on that board. I was there briefly, but we appreciate the dedication of the chairman in working with our other partners. Congratulations, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I also want to echo the congratulations. What the Regional Planning Council does in allowing for all of us to come together and learn from one another and share our successes and talk about things that impact us all regionally is critical. And I don't think that any of our communities would be as successful without it, especially economically. So thank you so much for the work that you do, and for being, especially as Mr. Benson mentioned, a wonderful resource for the city of Tampa. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Good.
Well, thank you for 60 years. Times are changing, and they're going to continue to change. So I'm hoping that we look at the new ideas for those low socioeconomic areas to bring them up to standards like other areas. So I'm hoping that the strive of moving forward and moving the train to a different level will be different. So again, thank you for the work you've been doing for 60 years.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Again, congratulations to your organization. 60 years, so it had to be sometime in the mid-60s when you started, I guess. And when you look at those things, I sit back and I laugh at myself. I wonder what a gallon of milk cost then. Wonder what a spare tire cost then. Wonder what a spark plug cost then. And things like that, although we needed them then, they're very high cost now. And I'm not going to go into housing because it's triple, quadruple, 15 different times and different things. And I want to thank your organization for understanding and give us advice. And sometimes we take it, sometimes we don't. And they're between those individuals are the ones that we have to step forward, never take a step sideways or backwards because you're losing ground. The environment's caving in, and we're still making laughs and jokes about it. It's no longer a laughing matter or a joking matter. When you look at the Colorado River, when you look at the rivers of the Rhine, when you look at the problems in Poland, when you look at our own areas that we have in California and things of that nature, you understand, we should all understand, it's not a joke anymore, it's reality. Thank you very much for what you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
At this time, we will now take public comment.
Before public comment, we probably ought to review the agenda. We did not review the agenda or make any changes to the agenda yet.
I was hoping to do that after, but
okay.
for your advice, we'll go ahead. I'm sorry, those who are about ready to speak, but we're going to do our agenda review.
Danielle, there was an addendum to the agenda that noted there were several items.
Who do we have from staff? Is Ms. Feely, are you going to do our agenda review?
There's no one, I don't believe, here generally
Okay.
from staff, but there was an addendum that came to the agenda where there were 2 or 3 things I think pulled by individual council members for discussion. And generally we run through the staff items to determine whether any of those items need to, whether memos suffice or whether you needed staff present for those items. So
Okay, I was just hoping there were going to be staff members here when we run through the staff agenda items, okay? All right. Do we want to run through our staff agenda items at this time?
Sure. I mean, the staff reports won't be given at this time, but I believe Mr. Ohiro and others are here to speak on 5, 6, and 7.
Okay,
And I believe there were a couple of other items on the agenda.
5, 6, and 7 is also going to be heard with 69 and 70 at the same time.
Correct. So that was pulled from the consent,
Thank you very much.
consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, the first three items, 5, 6, and 7, if you add them together, are 260 million plus, and that's not including interest. It's several $100 million in items. We each had short briefings this week, and the public has not had a chance to hear this before. I was told by staff that the public had heard some about it, but I pulled the transcripts from the meetings. They said it was presented, and it was only references that there would be an item coming up. This is one of the largest items we've ever approved in the city. A couple years ago, we approved this transfer from the private company to the city, and I never made a motion, but I asked several times for them to give us an update on it. We've not had an update in that time. This is a major investment by the city, a major amount of money, and we're being hit with this essentially at the last minute. The public has not had a chance to review this. Today they will hear a presentation. I would like to make a motion that we continue at least 5, 6, 7, maybe the other two items, but go ahead and hear the presentation today. I think we should continue the vote on my motion is to continue the vote on these budget items until September 1st, so that the public will have a chance to weigh in. And then in the future, I'm going to make a motion later that we make sure that we have at least 2 hearings on items above a certain dollar limit, because the public we have a duty to let the public listen to this, understand it, and weigh in.
Are you asking that we go ahead and hear these and then make a decision on to continue them or not?
I'm asking that my motion is to have them present these, but continue, I'm not finished, but continue these items, not hear them and then continue. I'm asking to continue them now until September 1st, but to hear the presentation today.
I would prefer to hear the presentation today, and then we can make any decisions after we hear the presentation.
If I don't get a second, then it's moot anyway, but I made a motion.
All right,
May I speak?
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I as a courtesy, I don't mind voting for this, but I just want to make sure that there's no, I would think not, time-sensitive issues here. I mean, if it's 1 week you're seeking, 1 week? 1 week, correct?
Yeah, and if I could, the staff says that it's urgent because it takes 52 weeks to get this equipment, and my response is, why didn't you tell us this a year ago or 2 years ago? Why is it, I don't know if you all have seen, but lately we've had millions of dollars of items come before us that are urgent that we have to approve immediately. And the public deserves a right to review this and give input on it. Remember Hannah Avenue, it was 2 weeks after we voted on it that someone from the public informed us that it wasn't put out for bid. And so if they have to wait 53 weeks to get the equipment, fine, they should have come to us before.
And so I mean, we can hear from the administration on this. If it is no prejudice, no backlog issues, if there is, then I would be inclined to vote against it. But if there isn't, I would be inclined to vote for it as a courtesy, but just my thoughts.
I mean, there's a motion on the floor, obviously, but I mean, typically you would hear from the administration before making your decision whether to defer the vote or not, so.
Discussion?
And that's what I would like to, that's what I would prefer to do, is to hear from the administration. And then after we hear from the administration, we can vote on whether or not to continue or not. Councilman Goods.
Those are the kind of questions I did ask staff, you know, why always in the 9th hour? So I can understand where Mr. Carlson is coming from, that we have to stop this 9th hour of bringing things to council, especially these high dollar amounts, and then rushing us to make a decision. So I can agree with his second part as far as a future motion that stop happening, because it seems to be a trend and we just can't let that happen. I mean, these are high dollar amounts. I know the need for solid waste. I understand that. I'm on board with that. You know, I get that, but I think in the future, like you're saying, it needs to be a motion to stop this type of flurry of dollar amounts coming at the last minute to us to review. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? We have a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Miranda.
To me, a dollar amount is a dollar amount. I look at a dollar just like I look at $1 million. Because if you save the dollar, you'll have $1 million. So these are the things you have to look at. When you look at what's happening, sure, it come up. Why? Well, the process has been in place since Spruce Street started in the city 10 years ago, when it first said that we're going to move the Spruce Street operation to another place. And if you think that's easy, it is not. And when you look at what we're talking about, 1 week, maybe not, hurt. But what we're running on is on fumes over there. If that turbine goes down, if that turbine goes down, it's solid waste, you're going to remember for the rest of your life what 1 week is. I'm not against it, but I'm just putting notice now that that turbine is of age. That turbine is not making what it used to. That turbine needs to be replaced along with other things. And I like the public, since we're talking about the public, to understand, and we don't have to vote on it today, to understand what the risks are. That's all I'm going to say.
Mr. Chair, can I just follow on?
Councilwoman Hurtak.
No, he can answer, that's fine.
Councilman Carlson.
No, what, again, the staff shouldn't come to us at the last minute. They should have come to us a long time ago, because they've known for a while that this turbine needed to be replaced. But here's the question that I'd ask you in advance of we were all briefed the other day, and I'm not going to ask you all these questions, but the public is not even really aware that this is on the agenda today. They're looking at other things. But I would ask you to ask yourselves, do you know what the annual cost is of this plant? Do you know what the revenue is for the generation of electricity and that they're selling to Seminole Electric? Do you know what the alternative is? If this, I presume that they would shut this turbine down before before something catastrophic happens, and the alternative is that they'd put it in a landfill. But we've never had a full discussion on the environmental impacts of putting it in a landfill versus the air pollution. Did you all ask the questions about what air pollution standards that they have? Do you know what they do with the waste, the dust and other heavy materials that come from it? Where do they dispose that? Do you know the cost of interest of this plant? Do you know the total cost of this plant over 3 years, including O&M, interest, and capital? There's a lot of things that are here, and if you have all those questions, the question is, does the public know? The public has not had a chance to hear this because today is the first time they're going to hear it. And if we vote on it today, I think it's a disservice to the public. We need to give them really 2 weeks, but a week at a minimum. Thank you.
Councilman Carlson, have you had a meeting with solid waste?
Yes.
And you have?
Yes.
Councilman Vieira, have you?
We spoke about it yesterday. I think they had requested one from the day before, but I had some private sector things.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Yes, and they'll have a presentation follow-up as well.
Councilman Hurtak, have you had a meeting?
Yes.
Councilman Goods?
Yes,
Councilman
Yes,
Miranda?
and if I may, just going back many years ago, we used to put the byproduct in a big area of the plant until one day, this would go back in the 70s. I asked them, what are you doing with that? He said, why don't you go to Home Depot, see if you can sell it. Guess what? That's what the fertilizing for many years. I know it stopped now. Some years back it had stopped because other products come on the line. But that citrus nitrate stuff that we were throwing away became what the people were doing the lawns with. So there is progress there, but it's not being used, so it's facilitated. And when you talk about the Seminole Electric contract, 2 council members objected to it. We had a sweetheart deal, not that I say it, that's what the people in the commission said up in Tallahassee, when someone appealed that we had a better deal than somebody else. So we had to send the transmission line. They told us we couldn't sell the transmission line and TECO also do the other services. And we had to take that back from TECO and sell it to Seminole Electric for a lesser rate. If you don't believe me, check the record. If my mind is still in order like I believe it is. So look at that. So the citizens of Tampa lost many millions of dollars because 2 council members objected. Somebody heard it and appealed to the board up in Tallahassee. Thank God that you guys are still surviving. Thank you.
Councilman Carlson, to your questions, of all the questions you asked that I asked. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Hurtak, go ahead.
From my understanding, 2 weeks ago, this was $16 million for item number 5.
Yes, ma'am.
So I do think there is a time issue with this. I don't know if we can wait on 6 and 7 to hear. I don't know how that, we can uncouple that, if that's possible. Because I do agree with you, the public needs to know about this. But I do also believe that there's time sensitivity, so, I see both sides, but I just don't know, if we're fine with, $18 million next week, then that is fine.
Mr. Chair, if I may offer some clarification.
Surely, go
Thank
right
you.
ahead.
And I don't want to get ahead of the presentation, but further to Councilwoman Hurtak's comment, what we're asking for today, the immediate need, is the $17 million. We'd like to enter into a contract, and we'd like to move some funding within solid waste to accommodate that $17 million. You're quite right. A couple weeks ago, it was $16 million. We're in a volatile environment. As we've characterized it in our briefings, it's not an emergent environment, but it's an urgent environment. Trying to get that purchased for the 52-week lead time to get started on the bulk of the waste-to-energy facility. The $220 million, again, is the reimbursement resolution for the ultimate plan, but we're not asking council to approve a $220 million plan today. We're merely educating council and the public on what this could eventually lead to. When we do the bulk of the waste-to-energy facility, when we do the relocation, if we do the relocation, those are all decisions that city council will have to make, including the issuance of debt.
Mr. Massey.
Just briefly, I mean, really all we're talking about is your agenda and making changes to your agenda at this point in time. We're not supposed to be getting in a substantive conversation about these issues. So I believe that the more prudent thing to do is let's figure out what needs to be altered on your agenda, hear the substance of this, then you can vote whether you want to move forward on it today or not, or delay it at that point in time. I really think that's the more prudent thing to do.
Councilman Carlson, before you start,
unless
please.
Unless you wanted to just take it off the agenda.
I'll withdraw my motion and bring it back later.
Thank you. So we are going to hear agenda items 5, 6, and 7 together with consent agenda items 69 and 70. Thank you very much, Chair Pro Tem. Agenda item number 8. We will see here that.
Yep.
9 and 10.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. 11. And we will be opening 11 and 12 at the same time.
They don't need to be open then.
They're resolutions, I mean, there are a number of items, there were memos submitted to you all, and I guess part of this is.
And I am just making sure that every council person is still willing to hear them, wanting to hear them, or wants to.
And you said we will hear a report on 11 and 12, correct?
Yes, and they will be opened again, together. 13? Yes?
Yes.
14?
If I may, with 14, I made that, I think I made that a little prematurely. I want to continue that. I want to first see, I want to do this after we pass the Returning Citizens Ordinance and the Training Apprenticeship Program. So if I may, I'm going to remove 14 and then make it at a later time once this ordinance that we hopefully pass today on second reading for returning citizens passes, just for the sake of time.
A motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Carlson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Item agenda number 15.
And also, if I may, Mr. Chair, for item number 15, Chief Bennett spoke on this, I think it was last week or the week before, and it appears that this is going to be in the budget, so I do not need anybody here from that. We can just take it as it is and go forward.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 16.
I don't know, Mr. Benson transmitted a written report.
Is that good for our council members?
It's fine with me.
Okay, we'll strike 16. 17.
We can just speak about it when it comes. I don't think we need anyone here for that.
You'd like to keep it on the agenda?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, 18?
Yes.
19?
19, I think staff was going to ask to.
She's not down here, I believe a
Continue
memo.
to 9:15?
Yeah, I think a memo was submitted, and I believe.
Correct.
that-
You want to make a motion?
19 and
Yeah, it's
20.
9:15. Councilman Carlson.
Yes.
And
Is there a
Second.
second? Seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any objection?
Can I just make one quick statement on it?
Councilman Carlson.
You know, in these discussions, and we've asked if there's coverage, and the answer is yes. It's privately managed above 500,000, privately insured. Below 500,000, we're self-insured. I had a meeting with the risk management consultants and the team yesterday, and we don't have a policy under 500,000. There's no self-insurance. A self-insurance policy, as described by my experience, but also by the consultants, is that you would have a policy. The United Healthcare plan that we have is a self-insured plan, but we have a policy. There's no policy under 500,000. So it's at anything below 500,000 is the sole discretion of the city attorney. And so there's a lot of work to be done here. I can't talk to you all about it outside this meeting, but any ideas you have from your consultants or others, we need to come up with an idea. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't be protected, but we need something that's specific. It's not true that we are self-insured. We are not. This is 500,000 is a deductible.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Goods.
I had to cancel 2 meetings with them, and I apologize, but they were very serious, I had to attend, so again, I have not had a chance to ask some questions as it relates to that, so I'm happy to move that is continued.
And that is what we've already continued. Agenda item number 19, correct? We already took a motion on that?
Yes.
Was there a motion already that was voted on, Danielle,
Yes.
on that? Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Agenda items number 20 and 21.
Well, 20 is companion really to 19, so if you wouldn't mind moving that to 9:15.
So moved.
20 and 21 to,
So 21, I want to speak briefly on 21, and then there will be, so.
move item number 20, continue it to September 15th under statute.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilwoman Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any objections? Councilman Carlson.
I'd like to make a motion related to this, if I may. I would like to make a motion that until our city council attorney returns, that any item that references him would then be requested of Mr. Massey in his place, because we can't, some of these items we can't continue forever. I would just ask that in the short term that Mr. Massey would take over these items until our attorney returns.
Real quickly, could I respond to that? I'm going to speak to number 21 because I have done some work relative to that. Item 20, I had not done anything primarily because based on the discussion at council, it was my belief that you all were wanting your own attorney to look at what a potential ordinance would look like. I've done some research, I'm happy to look at that, but where I believe Mr. Shelby will be back by the 15th and should be able to respond to that, and we can work with him internally.
So my motion would be, if I may, in the absence of the city council attorney, that Mr. Massey would work in his place to move forward items that had been assigned to Mr. Shelby.
I wish I could support that, but there's been some miscommunication between this body and the 8th floor in this building, not to mention this, that is the city attorney's office. And we've been at some type of disagreement on some issues. So although Mr. Massey is sitting here, I would rather hire an outside attorney to do this until he comes on the 15th. At 15th, we're talking about a week. We're talking about, 4 weeks or 3 weeks? And I'm not opposed to that, to holding it off another 2 or 3 weeks, because what has been going on between this and the 8th floor, for whatever reason, I'm not blaming anyone. The doctor would tell you to take some medicine because you're sick on both floors. Whoever's at fault, I don't know. But if you have a bad heart, you don't go see a urologist. You go see a heart doctor. So I don't know if we're sick or not. I don't know if they're sick or not. But I'd rather protect the public and wait 3 more weeks until Mr. Shelby gets here, because he certainly knew about this way before he got sick. And he's capable of doing this job. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Goods, you're recognized.
I thought there was a motion on the floor to come back in reference to how we were going to handle city council attorney or bringing in a person or having alternates, whatever happened to that? That hasn't come back to us yet.
I believe it's either on next week's agenda or on the 15th agenda to discuss that.
I think what Mr. Miranda is right. It seems like, sometimes the city attorney has two masters, but serves maybe one at times. So I think, I understand that. So I think we need to get some clarity on how we're gonna handle our business here, who will handle our business, and then in the absence of a person, who's gonna handle that business. So I'm hoping that we can rectify and get motions to move that forward when it comes back on the 15th. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you. The spirit behind the motion, I think, is very good, which is that there's items that council members have requested that for whatever reason, without getting into it, have not gone forward because of different issues. Maybe if the motion were amended to reflect, because I don't want to, Mr. Massey, God bless him, has been over here covering for a long time, and I'm not speaking on his behalf, et cetera, just my opinion, probably taken on a lot of work. Maybe the motion could be amended for either Mr. Massey or to hire outside counsel to assist should our attorney be gone for a longer time. That, I think, is reasonable and gets to the heart of it, which is council members have requests and want to see them forward. I think that's the heart of it, in my opinion.
Mr. Chair, I'd forgotten that we had that other item coming up.
Councilman Carlson, you recognize.
If that other item is coming up soon, I'll withdraw my motion. We just need to resolve this because we need to have a standing rule of what happens if our one person is out, and we need to make sure we have some kind of backup in the future and hopefully modify the charter. But in the interim, we need counsel, and I'm happy with it being outside counsel. We just need to make some kind of rule because some of these items keep getting delayed. Like on the charter revisions, they got delayed until we missed the deadline, and we should have handled them sooner.
I believe this is coming back on the 1st, and so if you would allow maybe a presentation, and we can try to discuss it then, how this business will be covered. Some of it I am handling, but some of it you may want to have separate counsel so we can have a conversation on the 1st about those issues.
So I withdraw my motion. Thank you.
Councilman Carlson has withdrawn his motion. Agenda item number 12. 22, I apologize. 22?
Quick, before you go to 22, on 21, item 75 is a resolution regarding the Citizens Budget and Finance Committee. I went back and researched the prior resolution. I think I circulated to all of you all. Previously, it did not appear that the current members of the committee had been formally appointed, so this resolution would appoint those members. And I also changed the term of office so that their term would be the same as your term of office, so we don't have to go through the reappointing every year. And the committee met last week, and I believe they're coming forward with a regular schedule of meetings. So I think the majority of those issues have been resolved. So,
thank you.
All right, agenda item number 22.
I'm good with that, sir. Yeah, I'm good with that. She gave me a call and we worked out those details, so we should be fine.
And we'll strike 22?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. 23.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I move to continue that. This is a sidewalk along 9th Street for a neighborhood that has a home there with about 15 or so disabled veterans who badly need a sidewalk there. But the problem is contracting. And getting a contractor for such a small project. So that's a darn shame. So if I may, I want to keep this on the agenda as a self-reminder to myself to have this. So we're in September. So how about we do February of 2023?
Do you have a meeting?
Second.
Do you have a hearing date in February? We ought to continue a specific date, Danielle.
Mr. Chairman?
We have a motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Goods.
Mr. Vieira, since that is such a small project, and you're saying there's contract issues of taking a small project, the presidents and also the county, they have workers that can do those type of small things. So maybe the administration can contact the state or something like that, and they can come out and put a little small sidewalk in if that's the case. Just an idea, a thought pattern.
Yes, sir, and thank you, Councilman Goods. I appreciate that. So if my aide Brandon is watching, let's move on that, and we'll set up a meeting for that. Nothing council related, if I may, but thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
The motion, if you want to bring it back in February, would be February 2nd is the first council meeting in February.
Let's do, if I may, the 16th. Yes, give them some more time.
All right.
Second from Miranda.
Second from Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Agenda items 24 and 25. Yes.
Other things I would note that it appears that have been changed is that Councilwoman Hurtak has asked that items 28, 29, and 72 be pulled from the consent agenda for.
Move to approve the agenda.
What was the other one?
Second.
28, 72.
And 72. And then we have.
Did I also take note that 69 and 70, we're hearing those?
Yes, sir, you have.
Okay.
About 18. What's up with 18?
What's up with this?
It says other changes to meeting or agenda. This is the addendum.
Yeah, if you could, there's an addendum to the agenda that notes several changes to the agenda, including some substitution. As the clerk just noted,
There's just a memo that's been.
Yeah.
transmitted,
Been
that's
sent
all.
out, that's
Yeah,
all it is.
move to approve the agenda.
Okay. We are good, we're moving forward.
Yep.
Okay. Got a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Just making sure that we're all good. Okay. Now, we will take public comment.
Mentes not, Tampa, Florida. It's a garbage city council. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a garbage city council, and it proved itself just then, right now. $270 million, and they don't know what the hell's going on with it, and they don't know what. But it's always been that way for decades. I've been coming down here for 30 years. It's always been that way. They just run these things through, and the citizens don't, nobody know what's going on, because the city council members, they ain't that smart. It's not like they're accountants or engineers or scientists or brain surgeons. They not that smart. They got a job and they got elected on some votes or whatsoever, put up a sign and got elected. But the fact of the matter is, what we have to realize is, for our district, District number 5, what we have to realize is, our city council representative, male or female, boy or girl, whatsoever, have to start talking about real issues, have to start talking about reparations, have to start talking this nonsense they talk about, bring these garbage police officers in here, always talking negative about District 5, East Tampa, and gun violence. But our city council person have to say something about gun manufacturers. We ain't having that like blaming us, blaming the black person, blaming the black person. Try to walk in this door this morning, and the police officer, the white police officer, trying to stop me because of a shirt I got on. You understand? It's a hatred that white people have when they see black people. They think they run us, they think they own us, they think we slaves. And then you come in here and you gave an award to a garbage police officer that his parents might have been sitting right there. And what his father, I think his father tells me, I'll take you outside and beat your MFing ass. And he said the whole word. And said it about 3 times. But his son's getting an award for what? That's how he teach him at home? Is that how he trains it at home? No, man, y'all got a hatred for black people when y'all see black people. And the other man that's sitting right there in city council, the man sitting right there, the hatred for black people is, when I initially started coming down here, have to go to jail just to speak, because y'all ain't never seen a black man since y'all grandparents bought one. Y'all ain't never seen a black man. When y'all see black people, y'all get all excited. You see a black person with a sign on the sidewalk, and y'all white folks act like y'all don't know y'all white folks had a constitution since 1776. Since 1776, white folks had freedom of speech, and since 1776 to 2022, black people still experiencing all forms of slavery. All forms of slavery. Incarcerating black people, running us around here, gun buyback, y'all gonna solve crime. And what? Who's bringing the guns? Y'all giving money away to white folks. All that have to stop. And we need to talk about reparations and things that make sense to us black people.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Bernice Powell Jackson. I'm the pastor of First United Church of Tampa and president of HOPE, the Hillsborough Organization for Progress and Equality, a local faith-based community organization consisting of 24 member congregations. I come today to speak in support of Agenda Item 114 that proposes an amendment to the city's criminal history practices screening ordinance. I think Mr. Miranda is the only council person who will remember this. 10 years ago, HOPE came to the council to address the need for Tampa's returning citizens to get work after incarceration. Studies had shown how difficult it was to get a job when the initial application asked, "Have you ever been arrested?" and the box was checked yes. The stories that we heard showed that many Tampa citizens were unable to get employment because of it. Even though many applicants had the required and desired experience, they were eliminated once that box was checked. We asked then that the city of Tampa change their own hiring practices by taking off the question about arrest from the initial application and to urge the businesses the city contracted with to do the same. Sometimes the best worker is the one who would have been eliminated at the beginning of the process because they had checked that box. We knew that this simple action would give these potential workers a fighting chance in the job market and would have a positive impact on many Tampa families, businesses, and the city of Tampa. While we were glad to see the City Council pass the hiring screening practices ordinance in 2013, taking that question off of the initial application of the city leaders then were reluctant to move beyond their own hiring practices to those who contract with the city. HOPE is pleased that you have now an amendment before you to move forward. As housing costs have increased and inflation goes up, there are so many Tampa families struggling to make ends meet. We believe that this will help our returning citizens to find employment, boosting both their family income, stability, and their own self-esteem, while also giving businesses the opportunity to hire the most qualified employees. We all know a job is a requirement for success, and any help the city and our businesses offer is a positive thing. It's a win-win amendment for all, and we urge you to pass it.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Pastor Williams, located 1112 East Scott Street, Paradise Missionary Baptist Church. I've been coming down here for many, many years, but we don't get no result. And it's sad to say that, but it's the truth. We come down here many times. I come down here and who got Jackson House? Which one of y'all got Jackson House? Is it you? Yes, sir. Why don't you have that house, regular house tore down?
Mr. Frank, we got to talk offline about that subject, because some people may feel a different way, but we can talk offline about that. There's some issues.
But we've been talking.
Since you called me out, there's some issues going on with the house and the property. I think those things got to be worked out, and hopefully eventually it can. And I'm very limited on that because that's some private things that are going on that's not city related. So I think once some meetings are held, hopefully there'll be some resolution to the Jackson House. But I again, that's gonna be an offline conversation that me and you could have.
Yeah, we thank you for that information, but where are we going with it? Nowhere. And I've been coming down here time after time telling y'all you need to tear that regular house down. It's regular, it's falling down. and nobody seem to do nothing. But if it's in your district, I think you ought to know what to do. Now, they come and put a citation on my church, and my church ain't nearby as bad as that over there. But nobody want to do nothing for us as black people. They just want to ridicule us and tear us down and keep us from doing what we need to do. But it ain't going to happen like that. As long as God allow me to wake up in the morning, I'm going to always be doing something to try to better myself and better everybody else. You know, it's so sad that black folks act like they scared to come down here and speak up for themselves. They asked me, Pastor, I seen you on TV. I said, yeah, what you see me doing? Oh, man, you're doing a good job. No, I ain't doing no good job. They can care less about me and care less about me putting me on TV. I don't come down here to be seen on TV. I care less about a damn TV. I come down here for us to work with one another, to help one another. And don't forget, y'all might call us black people, but we're God people. And that's what I want y'all to understand. We got to understand also, we talk about killing. Who killing? Killing little children, the white people. White boys killing little children in elementary school. What are y'all gonna do about that? Don't do a damn thing. Come down here, police come down here, and all you wanna do is, hey, got something for you. Give them a damn football. What do I want with a football? Or what do I want with a plaque? I need some action. When I say action, need some action coming directly from y'all. If y'all not want to support the black folk, then y'all need to just get down, sit down, and do what you got to do.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all got a
Mr.
job
Chairman,
to do what you need to do.
Pastor Williams?
Yeah.
Let me say something. When you're right, you're right, but when you misconstrue. Several council members have gone to your place. We've instructed several people to talk to you, see how we can help you in reference to your facility. I love your place. We've told on our CRA board to see what they can do to meet. My understanding, they've tried to get with you a couple of times. They missed you, and they've been instructed to get with you to see what we can do in reference to your church, how we can make that a monumental place. So that is in the work to meet with you to get that looking better, get that so the public can see the history in there. So myself has been there, Mr. Maniscalco's been there, and Mr. Burton is supposed to be working with you. That is the CRA manager for Central Tampa, and I'm sure he's listening right now, so I'm sure he's going to try to get in touch with you today or tomorrow, but we want to work with you about your place, sir. And not to take your place, but to work with you on making that thing better so people can see the treasure that you do have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yeah, we understand. Words don't mean a whole lot. Just when you do something, mean a whole lot to me.
Yes, sir, you're right.
And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do everything I can to help people. But it seems like people don't give a damn about me. Y'all know what you done? Wait a minute. Let me talk here, please. Y'all know what they done did to my church? They done blocked me in. Took my parking place, put a double orange stripe in the street. I can't even park in the front of my church. That's the police coming down there telling me I got to move. They done broke in my church. They're doing everything to hurt the church. Well, we got to understand. We're trying to do God's will, not your will. And that's where we stand. We're trying to do the best we can. And we're not out killing people. The police, I got on that shirt here. Now, I got to take it off and let y'all see what it says. Police are killing our black children. And that's what it is.
Sir, thank you, sir.
We talk about Black Lives Matter. Do it really matter with y'all? No, I don't think so. Y'all can care less about me. But I do want to meet with the one that got that district. Y'all need to tear that regular church building down over there.
Thank you. Next, please.
I think that's Zach Street, ain't it? Come on, sir. Y'all have a good day.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, council members. My name is David Mechanic, 305 South Boulevard, Tampa. I represent the applicant on a DE1 application that's DE1 22-197. Earlier this month on August 4th.
Mr. Mechanic, is there an agenda item? Is that on our agenda today?
No, it's
Okay.
not.
Thank you.
The reason I'm here is because I understand people are registered to speak virtually who will object or may object to my request on August 4th to schedule that hearing to review our approval on September 15th. And they have suggested that we followed some improper procedure, and I am just here to say that I believe that we followed all procedures correctly. They are also, I think, suggesting that they don't have enough time to prepare, but the petitioner already prepared his arguments and they are filed with the petition. So all I'm here to do is say, we'd like to be able to keep the September 15th date. If we go past that into October, my client will be beyond the contract deadline. And we respectfully ask that.
And I don't know if other people will speak on this issue, but I know that you all received correspondence about the setting of that hearing. Typically, setting a hearing is an administrative act. It's not a legislative act, so it's not something that typically this body would re-review at this point in time. You would consider requests to reset the hearing date or continue the hearing date on the date that hearing is set. So I would say that conversations about when that hearing should occur on September 15th when the hearing date has been initially scheduled, whether it's appropriate to reschedule it, whether the parties in interest, the petitioner or the property owner or other parties in interest have a concern with that date, then that's the appropriate time to address that's on September 15th. So.
And I'm not asking you to change anything. I just needed to respond because I can't get up here twice. So I needed to state my piece before they spoke. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. My name is Robin Lockett. I'm with Florida Rising. I thought it would be robbery if I did not show up to let you know what my thoughts were in regards to Council cowardly not supporting rent stabilization. That's on the record. I want to thank Councilwoman Hurtak and Councilman Goose for standing up for the people to allow the people to make the decision around rent stabilization. What happened 1 week in between, I don't know, but you allowed people that was causing the harm to come down here and put pressure on you. We've been working on this since February last year, and I spoke with each one of you council members, and there was an agreement. All agreed that, except for Councilman Carlson, he was up front, but every last one of y'all skinned and grinned and said, you know what, I support this. So when the opportunity for you to do it came, you showed cowardly efforts. That's on the record. I also want to thank Councilman Goose and Councilwoman Hurtak for attending our Park to the Polls event. So not only does Florida Rising work on issues, we also mobilize the vote. C. Blythe Andrews, before August the 20th, which is my birthday, before August 20th, had less than 100 votes coming out. They had one day that they showed 100 votes coming out. On the date of that mobilization, 230 votes. May not seem like a lot to you, but what we proved is that if we are talking about voting, putting it out there, being consistent, people will show up. That was our first one. That weekend with the Souls to the Polls and our event, over 500 votes were made. That's good. That's a win for us because we're getting prepared for March. I also want to thank Nicole Travis and her team for coming out and us doing a workshop around housing. That was a success. You owe us, and I'm putting that out there. Today, we're relaxing because we were mobilizing people around the election, but you owe us. And we're not going to stop. I came because I wanted you to see me. And just something funny, when I was out canvassing, I didn't realize how much of the city pays attention to city council. Didn't realize that until I knocked on people's doors and they recognized me for coming down here and they wanted to support, to tell me to keep going forward. So this is not over. We're gonna be back here. And if you're not supporting what we want, we mobilize voters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning again, Council. Andrew Carter, President, Tampa Firefighters. I just wanted to briefly talk about an issue that remains at the forefront for us, and that's access to public safety. A few years ago, you saw a study that was produced by the International Association of Firefighters. We've talked about a public safety master plan. I just want to remind you that when we approve all these giant developments, millions of square feet of mixed-use occupancy, hotels, residential, I know you wouldn't approve those projects if they didn't have access to roadways and sidewalks and electric and sewer. We also need to consider the access to public safety. As we increase the population, if we don't increase the amount of firefighters and access to that, we're not standing still, we're moving backwards. So as I've been an employee for 15 years, I love to see the city grow. I love bringing my family down here through the West Shore District, the Channelside District, in through Ybor. We just need to make sure that we have that public safety at the forefront. When we look at resolutions and the word safety appears one time, we need to just make sure that we're allowing those citizens that will work there, play there, live there, have that same access to public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in chambers wishing to make public comment? I see we have 3 online. Ms. Sanchez, are you there? Has Ms. Sanchez logged on?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning to the council. My name is Sandy Sanchez, and I'm a community activist. During your informal budget discussion a couple of weeks ago, Councilman Maniscalco mentioned a possibility that an ombudsman or neighborhood advocate position might be created. I also have had an opportunity to speak to all of you individually, and I was encouraged by the positive feedback I received and would like this idea to move forward. A neighborhood advocate, ombudsman, would assist neighborhoods in wading through the complexity of the city's muni codes, land use issues, including rezoning, the convoluted comprehensive plan, quasi-judicial issues, and many other issues which ultimately jeopardize the quality of life and safety in their neighborhoods. A neighborhood advocate would enable neighborhoods to be better prepared when they appear before city council, thus cutting down the overall time during rezoning hearings. With proper direction, the neighborhoods would better understand the phrase, competent and substantial evidence. A professional advocate for the neighborhood will help shield the city council from unintentionally getting involved in neighborhoods versus developer squabbles. It would help alleviate any appearance of impropriety. City planning departments dealing with zoning changes spend hundreds of hours helping the poor, helpless developer understand these complexities for free. The neighborhoods, on the other hand, grovel for timely information. The law-abiding, tax-paying, everyday citizen trying to protect the quality of their community are not a priority with folks in these city planning departments. A neighborhood advocate is not a position that can be easily filled, but must be someone that is knowledgeable with land use issues, zoning, the comprehensive plan, and the quasi-judicial system. The neighborhood advocate is a benefit to all, the neighborhoods, city council, city planning, and even the developers. This person should come from one of the city planning departments or legal, that is knowledgeable in the technical issues that surround the land use and comprehensive plan complexities. Many cities in Florida employ ombudsmen, citizen liaisons with different specialties, from healthcare to zoning. City Council, we're asking you to protect your constituents and create a position that would help educate the communities on the changes proposed by developers, and this advocate be available to all communities within the city of Tampa. If it takes research from city staff, we ask that it begin sooner and not later. We also ask that neighborhood leaders be involved in this process. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Sir. Regarding Ms. Sanchez's comment, I'm going to make a motion at the end of the meeting regarding a neighborhood advocate position, but I'll take it up then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Maniscalco. Ms. Strohmeyer.
Hello, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just before I start, just so y'all know, when I do come up here, and you know, there are obvious issues that I do talk about. Go through the agenda. This is regarding our whole neighborhood as president of the Interbay South of Gandy Neighborhood Association. So, and it's just about to let people be aware of what's going on, because a lot of people, most people don't have time to sit up here for 8 hours a day. And luckily I'm able to work while I'm here listening to what's going on and I'm able to give input. And when people ask me questions, I'm able to tell them, you know, what's going on in our city council, because I get emails and I get texts and I get phone calls and I get stopped on the street, just so y'all know. So when I'm going through the agenda, it's not just me, it's just to educate my community association. Okay? So, is that okay? You understand? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, for some reason, okay, just checking. All right. Anyway, so going through the agenda, my name is Jean Strohmeyer. I am president of Interbay South of Gandy Civic Association. Y'all talked about the items 5, 6, 7, and the $220 million. I saw that first time Tuesday night on this huge agenda, which is, you know, 125 items. So 3 minutes to go through 125 items is pretty tough. So I really think that needs to be looked at. That's a lot of money. And, you know, obviously our grandchildren, my grandchildren that I don't have yet, will be paying for that bill. And I don't think that's fair to them. Number 8, a consultant on these sidewalk things. I just want to make sure that everybody gets a fair shake at sidewalks. Number 9, armed service security guards. I don't know where those are needed. Please educate us. 11 and 12, Catholic Charities, the homeless. I think something, and I think it's great that we're going to have the Hope Like Pinellas Hope, because there's homeless and then there's the drug addicts. So we need to get rid of the drug clinics that are everywhere. Thank you for the condolence, the one of you that did send me about TESFA, which means hope, by the way. His name meant hope. Thank you. And we need to get the drugs off the streets. Returning citizens, that's all great. Just call them. You can call them what they will, but obviously the question on the box would be, if they're going to work at a daycare, hey, have you been convicted of pedophilia or something kind of like that? You know, let's not be stupid. You know, we got to be smart about how we do things. 16, the SOG items, we all know about that. I'm not going to get into that. 18, reduce water rates. Yay, that's good. Let's look into that. I said something positive and good. To protect the elected officials, all the insurance, that we really wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't for one man and his attorney, and perhaps our city attorney at the time, who was, you know, pushing for that removal of Mr. Dingfelder, unfortunately. I look into the surplus water, number 50. I don't know, that looks like we don't need pure, so that looks like if we can find surplus water and educate people, that would be great. Number 66, that's good. Get the algae out of the aquifer. Tell me how you do it when you figure it out, because I have that problem. Water rates, water to energy, 6970. Oh, dock facilities, 78, 79. Can the public use these dock facilities? Give me 30 seconds, please.
Thank you, Ms. Strohmeyer.
30 seconds?
Thank you, Ms. Strohmeyer. Ms. Pointer.
Good morning, council.
Good morning.
Okay. As my mom would say, big duckies are being spent on today's budget implications. 16% of the 2022 budget is in the first 10 items of today's agenda, including $220 million bond to retrofit McGay Bay. That is more than double Hannah Street. Just saying, take that wherever you like. I'm curious about how much income that retrofit will bring to this department. Is there a profit and loss sheet for this project? Amortization of spending versus income generated? I only ask this because I hadn't seen much of a discussion on this project prior to today's agenda. Funny that Councilman Carlson mentioned the same thing and we have not collaborated on this. I am particularly curious about item number 8. $5 million is a lot of money for consulting. I really hope that there's some actual road improvements being done as part of that contract, not just a bunch of paper pushing. Before I leave the budget items, I'd like to point out that if you look at any of these items in SIRE, they can be very cumbersome. Some of these have hundreds of pages of items attached to it. A one-page cheat sheet would be amazing. As simple as the address of the project, the basic description of the work, how many bids were received, and how they were considered, and how much the winning bidder receives. I support number 14 on SOG. We're overall happy with the idea from the red sheet. Carol Ann Bennett has communicated directly with Mr. Jumbo about the adjustments we'd like to see in the future. 19 and 20, protect our elected officials from liability. 21 and 75, as a member of the budget committee, I think it's time for this to not be kicked down the road. I spoke with Councilman Hurtak yesterday about it. If the city of Tampa is, number 29, this is really important to me. If the city of Tampa is paying half for the basketball courts at Liberty and Freedom schools, those basketball courts should be accessible 24 hours a day if the school is not in session. This is the only place I've ever lived that every single school has a fence between it and the kids who live around it. I never understand that. But if we're going to pay for half, then the citizens need to have access when they're not there. Again, number 65, neighborhood commercial district plans. That sounds like a reasonable price, but I'd like to see the address and who all bid on it. A one-page cheat sheet, that's all I'm asking for. Number 89, I want to thank Abby Feely, Kate Wells, and Ron Wigington for meeting with Carol Ann Bennett and I yesterday afternoon to straighten this out. Go figure, I was made aware of an exterior easement this weekend, and they actually had an interior easement on the agenda this week. So I apologize to everyone for wasting your time on that. But that's the life of a neighborhood advocate. Thank you, and please check out the THAN website to see a brief synopsis of each council.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question, sir?
Surely.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Carlson, Councilman Viera, you're right.
Thank you, sir. It's actually Mr. Massey. I wanted to make sure, I don't think there's an issue. Ms. Pointer just mentioned item number 29, which deals with the basketball court, which will be at 17400 Commerce Park Boulevard. My son is a student at Freedom High School. That's no, which is literally right next door. Just for the record, that's no conflict.
It's not a conflict, no, sir.
Just making sure. I didn't think so. Thank you, sir.
This has been pulled for discussion by
Yeah.
Councilwoman Hurtak as
Yep.
well.
Just wanted to make sure no conflict. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Goode, you're recognized.
you know, a lot of times we read information, but sometimes a piece of meat sometimes is missing. And when I look at 29, unless I would have known about the school, Liberty and what we're actually doing, and I have nothing against the school district, and I know a lot of the properties out in that area, a lot of recreations are using some of the properties out there, because I know a lot of my friends are workers in the recreation department and utilize those facilities, so I think that's worth the discussion. And that was pulled, I believe, correct? All right, thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
Just in general, and we've said this before, that as I understand, the deadline for each week's agenda is Thursday or Friday the week before, and I can't read the agenda until Wednesday because documents come in on Wednesday, and sometimes multi-million-dollar documents come in on Wednesday night, and the public is very concerned about this. I think we ought to require that if the sufficient backup documents are not in the agenda by a certain date, that we automatically continue it. It's disrespectful to us because we are forced to read the agenda multiple times, especially when it's 125 items all the backup. But it's very disrespectful to the public and it's not fair to the public. Also, on some of these items that are enormous, like this $220 million, there's very little information on SIRE. The community has conspiracy theories about all this, but the fact is we're not giving enough information to the public. The mayor even called for transparency and accountability, and we're not providing it. Staff are not providing it. We need to put more detail, and we need to get it in to SIRE earlier so that we all have a chance to look at it.
Shall we move on to agenda item number 5? File number PW 22-76503. And this is all part of 3 agenda items, 5, 6, 7, and agenda item number 69 and 70, in which, with the permission of council members, I would like to open all at the same time. Motion made by Councilman Good, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any objection?
Morning, Council. Sal Ruggiero, Deputy Administrator, Infrastructure Services. And before we get started, I just want to make a little statement on transparency and how I operate. And, you know, I've been talking about this for 2 years. And we had a previous chair of Public Works who's no longer with the council, but he was updated on a regular basis on what was going on here. So I don't want you to think that we're not talking. And I also want to tell you that I'm accessible anytime you want. Just call me. I talk to Councilman Miranda at night. I've talked to Mr. Citra. I've talked to Mr. Vieira. I'm always around. Mr. Carlson put out an email Friday. I was in Nashville on vacation, but my chief of staff called me, and I called you back. But I left you a message. So I'm just saying is...
And we had a meeting yesterday,
Yeah.
or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Which didn't go very well, and I won't talk about the details of it, but I think there has to be respect for the public, and if your department doesn't respect the public's right for information, we have a real problem in this city.
No, I'm going to fight back on that because we do respect
Where's the
public.
information in SIRE?
We
Why
do.
is there not?
Councilman Carlson.
Where's the backup on this
Can
in
we
SIRE?
hear Councilman Carlson?
You don't think it's important for the public to have the backup on this in SIRE?
Councilman Carlson, let's move forward, please.
This is why the public doesn't trust this government.
Councilman Carlson, I'm going to ask one more time. Can we please move forward?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are we ready? So I just want to say that we respect the public, we respect the council, and I'm accessible all the time. So call me, and I'll do whatever you want. And if you want briefings every 6 months from solid waste and from waste to energy, let me know. I also run fleet and facilities. So just let me know what you want. I don't know what you want. I can't be that person that is a mind reader, you know? So, but I'm accessible, and we want to do the right thing at all times. So with that, I'll...
One second, please. Councilman Miranda.
I just want to try to get clarity and stop this, that, and the other between I and the rest of us. I would suggest to you, sir, and to the administration, my suggestion, you don't have to take it. Anytime that you send out something regarding anything in the future, put it however you do in the computer so you can pick it up immediately and see if you notified us or didn't notify us a week ago or 2 months ago or a year ago. That way all of us will be satisfied that either you did or you didn't. And that's what I'm asking. That way they know, or we know, and the public knows. I want complete transparency.
I agree.
That's what I want on both sides.
Yep.
And that's what I want, so at the end of I guess I can make a motion at the end of the meeting that for them to set a separate file every time they send us something on what subject matter it is, so when they need to recoup, they just push that and hand it to us. That's all. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so today I have with me Chuck Conklin. He's a director of the waste energy plant. He's the subject matter expert on this. We have Larry Washington, the director of solid waste. He's going to present on his portion because we're going to give you an overall of what's leading up to it, what's actually going to happen on 34th Street. And then we have Dennis Ruggiero, CFO of the city, and he'll talk the financing. I know you heard this, but I want to get it out for the public, a little background on the facility. It was built in 1967 as an incinerator. That's where all the city's trash was brought and ultimately just burned. 1985, the turbine generator was installed. That's where we actually produce the electricity now. 1998, boilers 1 and 2 were refurbished. So that gives you a little perspective on some of the maintenance work. When's the last time it was done? 2002, boilers 3 and 4 were refurbished. Now, when I talk about the boilers, that's what burns the trash. There's 4 of them. We can burn 1,000 tons a day. Each boiler does 250 tons. And if there's, they could go up or down depending on how they're running, if the trash is wet, but ultimately, we burn about 1,000 tons a day and about 325,000 tons a year. Let me go back to the turbine generator. The last time that was refurbished was 8 years ago. The standard on that is every 5 years. So that's coming up, it's 3 years overdue. From 1985 to 2020, a private contractor ran the plant for the city. At first it was Waste Management, and then We Liberated bought out Waste Management, and they ran it up to June 1st of 2020 is when the city took it back. The reason why we took it back is that we felt that they weren't operating the plant properly in the best interest of the city and the citizens. There was very little communication between that management and the solid waste operation, and that's critical. Because if you have an outage at that plant, then we can't bring city trash to that plant that day, and we have to divert it. So what was happening back then was our trucks would show up and they say, oh no, we're shut down for today. Now we gotta divert it, and then that just rolls into trash not getting picked up in the neighborhoods, overtime considerations. It just made for a mess. We also felt that they weren't maintaining the equipment properly, and by showing you the dates, it kind of confirms that. And really, there was no allegiance to the citizens of Tampa. An outside party running a city facility, really no allegiance. Their only allegiance was, let's burn tonnage and make money. So that's the reasons why we took this over. For the last 2 years, first off, we brought Chuck in, and we stole him from Washington State. Now, he's done this across the country. He's taken private-run incinerators and power plants, waste-to-energy plants, and transitioned them into city-run facilities. So he knows the business, and he's been doing it for 30-plus years. So the first year that he was employed, he spent solidifying the workforce out there. There's 55 employees that work out there, and they're critical jobs. Some operate the cranes that pick the trash up and bring it into the tipping floor, and then there's maintenance people, and they're very specific jobs. Right now he has 8 openings, so that's a work in progress, getting that workforce to 55. In addition to that, there's contractors out there, and they supplement what we can't do, and they're very important. The second year is when we really started looking into, hey, what is this plant, what do we need to do to fix it, make it run? It's running, but we need to make it, make the repairs and the renovations and keep it into the future so that we don't have any disruption of city services for trash pickup. At the beginning of that inquiry, investigation, COVID hit. And it hit the plant just like anything else, and it hit Chuck. So, there was a couple of months where he was down and out. But through that, he worked online and with the staff, and they came up with a plan of how are we going to fix this waste energy plant. And I think he's done a pretty good job. Once he came up with what actually needs to be fixed and where we're going, there was a bid put out, and Charles Perry Partners Incorporated was selected as the contractor, that'll oversee this process, okay? And Chuck can explain to you, because he was on that selection committee, on what parameters were done to choose them. He'll get into that. So back in August 26th of 2021, the design build for this project was brought to council and it was voted in to proceed. That was a year ago. So we're back a year with the information of how to proceed. I just wanted to put that out there. So we have pricing on, I would call it phase one. And phase one is materials and equipment that we have to buy to service the plant. And the reason why we're here is that once you approve this, hopefully, it takes 52 weeks or 1 year to get this equipment delivered to us. That's what we're dealing with right now. As this is going on with phase one, phase two is in process with Charles Perry Partners Incorporated, Chuck, the engineer of record out at the Waste and Energy Plant, which is Arcadis, and contract admin. And they're putting together what is it going to cost once the parts and materials come in, what's the labor going to cost? And we'll come back with that, phase two. In addition to this, Chuck has developed a 5-year plan. So there's phase one, which we're here today, phase two, which will come, but this 5-year plan, you need to hear about it today. And that's work that has to be done over the next 5 years, kind of like maintenance work that wasn't done during the time the private contractor had it. And Chuck will kind of explain that too. There's a small percentage of the 17 million today that there's some work that's going to be done in one of the buildings. I think it's just painting, right?
Well, there's staging for piping.
Would you please come up, anytime anybody's going to speak, please come up to the podium so you can be heard for the record.
Well, there's a lot of piping that is going to be
May I please have your name, sir?
I'm sorry. My name is Chuck Conklin. I'm the Waste Energy Director for the City of Tampa. There's a lot of piping that is going to be employed. We have some underground piping that is rotting, and we need to bring it above ground. And part of this 17 million is to set up that piping prior to taking the plant down, so that some of the components can be put in place without having to build this staging, prolonging the outage in the piping.
And the point of that is that is going to be completed by a equal business opportunity there. So there's some news there. So once we get the go-ahead to proceed with this and we order everything that we need, we're gonna try to complete this. Well, the plan is to complete this project in the fourth quarter of 2023, and we have a 50-day window to do all the work. So that means that the plant has to be shut down for 50 days. We have to divert all that trash to elsewhere, complete the work, and then bring the plant back up within 50 days. So that's kind of a basic overview. Give you a little history on the plant, what we've been doing the last 2 years, and where we're going once you approve this, hopefully. With that, I'll turn the presentation over to Chuck Conklin.
Once again, Chuck Conklin, Waste Energy Director for the City of Tampa. Council Chair, Council, I appreciate the opportunity to state the case here for what we're asking for our request. I came to the City of Tampa in order to help with the transition from private operation to public operation. I've got over 40 years experience in the power industry field. 36 of those years have been in waste energy. There's only one other plant in the United States, large-scale waste energy plant, that has done what we're doing here, and that is Spokane, Washington. the mayor of Spokane hired me to transition that facility, and it was highly successful. The city of Tampa liked what we were doing, and they found themselves in the same boat as Spokane was, and made the decision to internalize the operations. As discussed, the McKay Bay facility is in need of equipment replacements, upgrades, and repairs in order to continue providing reliable solid waste disposal services to the city of Tampa now and into the future. These repairs will help move the facility from a reactive operation to one of reliability, predictability, and a preventive maintenance program. As Sal discussed, the turbine generator, it's over 35 years old. Industry standards dictate that it should be overhauled every 5 years. This particular machine has been over 8 years since the last overhaul. If this machine were to have a failure, a catastrophic failure, this plant is down, could be down for a year or longer. If that should happen, the cost to the city of Tampa and the citizens would be, I can't even think about how many millions of dollars that would cost us as the city and the citizens. The main transformers at the plant are over 37 years old. This is the transformer that allows power to be produced and sent out for sale to Seminole Power. And it also, if the plant goes down for any reason, it allows power to come back to us from the power company. Now, we produce a lot of power. We use our own power that we're producing to operate the plant, but we sell the remainder. We're seeing nearly $10 million a year in revenue from that electricity. So you can imagine, not only would we have a tremendous amount of expenses should we have to move that waste to landfills or other waste energy plants, we would also lose this nearly $10 million in revenue. So there are risks by not doing this work.
Would you let him finish his presentation, and then you can ask your questions? We can all ask our questions then. Thank you. Please proceed.
Waste energy plants require a lot of attention and maintenance with time and age. They can fall into disrepair and from inattention and deferring maintenance to save dollars. This puts us in that reactive mode I talked about. And essentially a reactive mode is run to failure, which is not in anyone's best interest, certainly not the city or the citizens. But the reality is this is where we are now. It's our plan to make changes from this type of operation by completing the proposed CIP projects. This can be done. I have led a team in Spokane, Washington that did exactly the same thing for the same reasons as Tampa is doing now. Again, the facility was taken over and started being run by the municipality on June 1st of 2020. So we got 2 years under our belt, and we're recognizing what needs to be done in order to allow this plant to service the citizens of the city of Tampa well into the future. This takes hard work, dedication, of course, time, and of course, resources, money. That is my presentation for the item number 5, I believe it is, the $17 million. I have some other information, but it would require my presentation go longer.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I want to start, first of all, Mr. Chair, I have a lot of questions of this project overall, but I'd just like to ask you a few questions real fast. And I thank you for your service, especially through COVID. I thought of the conversation the other day. I thought that you the conversation with you went well because you have a lot of experience, you have the expertise, you have the experience from Spokane and other places, and I appreciate you coming here and working through that. Just to clarify the numbers from my colleagues, and we did some behind the napkin kind of numbers the other day. You're generating plus or minus 10 million in revenues by selling electricity to Seminole, correct?
That is correct.
Seminole Electric. And then what do you think is if you had to buy the electricity that you're using on the plant, how much would that be?
Well, it certainly would be a lot more than we're receiving for the power we generate.
Like, would it be 2 million, a million, any ballpark?
It could, I don't have the numbers yet, but I can certainly get it back to you. But I would expect it would be significantly more. When Seminole Power pays us, they're essentially paying us on an avoided cost basis. So they look at fuels and they look at what it would cost for them to produce the same amount of power. And that's what they pay us. Of course, when they sell their own power, they sell it for a lot more than they
So
do.
when we talked about costs, and forgive me, my numbers are slightly off, but I think the cost per year is, operating cost is, and I don't remember if this includes capital interest, but it's about 24 million. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's in the $24 million.
And so a plant like this, I mean, what we have to do as policymakers is look at what the alternatives are, and
Right.
I'll talk about that in a second. But it's not. I think these plants are not meant to make a profit. They're meant to solve a community issue, which is how do we dispose of waste. But by using this incinerator, we're getting $10 million a year to offset the 24 million, so the net is about 14.
That's a reasonable assumption.
And then, but that's not including the capital cost of all the things Mr. Harrow's going to talk about in a few minutes. So we have to think about that. Now, if I remember correctly, I don't remember how we got to this number, but I think the cost of shipping it to Pasco landfill, maybe not including distribution, but just in paying the landfill cost, is somewhere around 15 million a year. If we didn't use this plant at all and we just shipped it up there.
I think we arrived at that number or numbers. I don't have a calculator with me, but based on paying $71 a ton for 320,000 tons of waste that would have to be moved.
And if you take away, and so just for my colleagues, and maybe they've asked this question already, but net right now, this is costing us, not including the new capital expenses, about 14 million a year. And if we shut this down and send it to the landfill, it would be about 15 million. So plus or minus, it's about the same price.
The disposal portion of it, you're right, but we're only talking about disposal. Now we're talking about trucking, we're talking about diverting, we're talking about handling waste here and putting it in
The extra
trails.
cost of taking
And
to Pasco versus.
Larry can certainly speak to more of that.
And I'm
The
not
co-
arguing for landfills because
Right.
there are pros and cons from an environmental standpoint.
Right.
But, and you have a lot of information about that I'm sure you'll give later. But I'm just trying to go through the numbers of it. There is an alternative. And so if we had to, at this point, we haven't spent the $220 million and all this other stuff. And that's only 5 years, by the way. That's not 30 years and not including interest. So as we're looking at the cost of this, right now, if we had to shut it down, it's about plus or minus the same, similar cost to send it to landfill. So I would just encourage everybody, as we're looking at the new cost of it, you know, what's the total cost? And we have to look 30 years. No business would look at a big capital expenditure like this for just 5 years or 2 years. We have to look at what the total 30-year cost is, and we have to include interest. Like on Hannah Avenue, you know, besides the price escalation and lack of bidding, we found out the interest was like 71 million. So if you take 108 million plus 71 million, and we didn't even include O&M, it's probably the total cost over 30 years is 220 million or more for a building that houses 500 people. I mean, incredibly high prices. And so what I want to do is just make sure that we know all the costs. And you talked about the cost of failure. Now, if there's a catastrophic event, that would, of course, we want to make sure that the thing is safe and nobody gets hurt and nothing like that happens. But if the thing just shut down, if the turbines stop working, we need to think about what those costs are and look at the alternatives. All we would do is we'd redirect it to the landfill. So then what are the ongoing operating costs during a shutdown that we would have to continue to pay? You know, what double costs? And I'm not asking for the answer now, but we would need to look at that. It's a business decision or a financial decision that we're making and a policy decision, and we just need to think through the numbers because there is a specific cost.
May I for a moment?
Please.
Councilman? We're kind of talking about $220 million. $220 million is not for the waste energy plan. It's for the entire solid waste system. The waste energy plan is asking for $17 million now to buy the equipment and put down payments on work that we need to bring in fairly, as soon as possible, so that we can perform the outage within a year. So the equipment that we're talking about, the risk is not the risk over the next week, it's the risk over the next year.
In your experience, because this is 17 million is to do some immediate kind of things in the next year, and you talked about a 5-year plan, but in your experience, what is the total capital that we're going to need to put in this plan over the next 30 years?
Well, typically a waste energy plant has between $3 and $4 million of capital per year. That's just the way it is.
And do you know, at the time that we took over this from Will Brader, was there an analysis done and an estimate of all the repairs and cost of the repairs that we'd have to do?
I was not present for that, so I can't comment on what was done and what was not done.
My point is similar to Hannah Avenue. Hannah Avenue, while that evaluation was being done, we could have bought Tampa City Center across the street for I think $119 million. We're going to end up paying 108 plus for Hannah Avenue. We could have rented out the extra space across the street, Tampa City Center, and made a profit on it. And I want to make sure that we're not just empire building, that we're actually making the right policy decisions. And it's important for the public that we go through all the business numbers. And you have the experience, you can talk us through it. But I just want to set the public's expectation, because if we make a decision now, and then a year from now come back and say, okay, now we need another 20 million, another 20 million. I'd rather map out the whole thing for 30 years. What's the total cost, including interest, capital, O&M, everything, for what we need to do over 30 years. And then we need to compare that to the other policy choices, and we need to look at the environmental impact, which you're an expert on. And then as we look at that holistically, then we can make a decision that's prudent for the public. And probably based on the discussion we had the other day, probably we'll get back to the same point that you all are at. But my issue is that we've, in the last 2 meetings where this was discussed in the budget, it was just a quick line on, we're going to come back to you on 220 million. And yes, there were memos in the past, but not a comprehensive look at this as a policy decision and as a big capital expenditure. We need to, in a more fulsome way, not just talk as city council, but talk to the public about it and make sure we're looking at all the numbers. A public company would never make a decision on a short-term basis like this. They always would plan out. And so we need to make sure that we're being prudent about this. Thank you so much.
Well, and I'd like to respond a little bit to that. I don't have anything to do with Hannah. That would be Salvager
We don't need to discuss Hannah, just discuss your topic.
Once again, what we're looking for is enough money to start the process, to order the equipment and get on people's schedules for a year from now. Pricing number 2 will come in for the installation, the rest of the components that don't have long lead time, and all of the work that needs to be done. That we don't have that number yet. We're looking for the 17 million that's to get that process started. I do have a little information on the environmental.
Can you hold there just 1 second? Councilman Goods, do you want to say anything? You're recognized.
I'll hold back until Dennis gets up, because Dennis is going to be the kicker. You're the bottom soldier.
I'm the doer.
Dennis is general right now, and that's basically where the questions that Mr. Carlson is talking about that we need to understand. Like I told Dennis, he always knows when I tell him up front, what is the bottom line? So those are questions I'm going to have. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Maniscalco.
And looking at the $17 million in regards to maintenance and the turbines and a catastrophic situation where these should be maintained every 5 years. Now we're at year 8, so knock on wood, I hope nothing happens, but should it happen, it's not about we can send it off to Pasco County, but it's diverting the trash, the waste to Dade City, and the reduction in the quality of the services that we're providing the community, on top of a delay of possibly a year, to get things up and running again. I see this as a maintenance investment, and I think Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll talk about this later, but we're acting as our own bank. We're paying this money back, being that is, I believe so. You'll explain it later, but maintenance is key, because if we have a generator issue, a turbine issue, and we have to divert to another county which is farther away, not just the cost, not just what it's going to cost us, not just the revenue that we lose, what we sell to Seminole and how we earn that. It was like $900,000 a month. I think the number that we threw out there was $10 million a year. It's the fact that, the transportation to get that there, the delay, the complaints that we're going to get from the public. People want, the solid waste picked up. They're on a set schedule. When the facility is backed up and shut down and we have to divert it to another county, it takes time to get to Dade City. I think we don't realize the magnitude of what could happen. We're looking at the estimated dollars, but I think it could be an even worse situation. So I understand, the necessity and why, and we're behind on the schedule of maintaining this, and anything is possible. Anything could happen negatively, and we want to avoid that. So
I'd like also to add to that, should we have to divert all of this waste, the increase in greenhouse gases, when you put a ton of trash into a landfill, landfills generate methane, whether they have a collection system or not. Methane is 80 times more potent a greenhouse gas than CO2, and we emit CO2 at the facility. I have some numbers to show you how much CO2 we emit and compare that to the greenhouse gases that are nationwide from both waste energy plants comparative to landfills. So there's a lot more that goes on when we talk about diverting waste for up to a year or more. Yes, sir.
Council members, it is already 11:25 right now. I would like to hold off on questions until the presentation has come. I've already have my questions that I want to ask, and they'll be done in rapid fire. No offense to staff, but we have staff here that really needs to get back to work. So if we can hold our questions to the end, please, and thank you.
Shall I move on to items 69 and 70?
Please.
Okay, so item number 69 has an ID number of 7691. 76691 for $488,256.24. This is an annual contract. This allows us to go inside each of the 4 boilers and replace the grate blocks that need to be replaced. Grate blocks they're exactly what they sound like. The fuel comes into the furnace, it goes onto the grate blocks, and that's where the fire is generated, 2,500 degrees. So you could, up to 2,500 degrees. So you can imagine the wear and tear that go on the grate blocks. We will be seeing this contract annually. And the same is true for item number 76698. This is for the refractory in the boilers. The refractory in the boilers need to be maintained annually. And remember, we're talking about 4 boilers here. The refractory covers the tubes in the boiler and protects those tubes in the furnace area from direct impingement from the flames and the heat and corrosion of the burning process. So these are annual contracts, and they're contained within the operating budget that we just talked about how much it costs to run a waste energy plant. That's it. I'll turn it over to Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Conklin. I appreciate it. Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Council. I'm Larry Washington, Director of Solid Waste and Environmental Program Management. And I will round out item 7, myself and on the CFO, Mr. Rogero. We're gonna give you something to look at as well. Is that upside down for you? Is that good? Just so you can see it. So I'm here to discuss the relocation of the solid waste headquarters from Spruce Street to 34th Street. Now, as you can see here, our existing site has multiple, can you see? Just wanna make sure. All right. So as you can see here, our existing site has multiple departments. So we have solid waste, of course, facility maintenance, container maintenance is part of solid waste, and our fleet maintenance. This parcel is 17 acres in total. In addition, it spans from Spruce Street to Laurel Street, and then you can see at the very bottom, we just highlighted it for you as well. But you look north, you look south, you can see residential areas surrounding it. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that this was a long time coming, like Councilman Miranda mentioned. Ultimately, well, first and foremost, thank you for approving the design build last month, July 14th, for this project as a whole. And I want to take a step back because I believe all of you know about the project, but just in case there are some that do not remember, this was not haphazardly, stumbled upon. In 2019, Howard & Associates prepared a master plan for this parcel and the solid waste in general. And that, therefore, this has led to the relocation itself. So to be specific, I want to make sure that everyone knows that there's more than just a administration building arriving at 34th Street. It's a admin building, it's a fleet maintenance building as well. So we can maintain our fleets, container maintenance, a truck wash that we're relocating from our current site to the McKay Bay facility. Scale house, we're improving our scale house. So we're expanding the lanes as well to accommodate for our growing community as well. And there will also be a parking garage. And this project in itself is 3 years, 1 year for build, or 1 year for design, and 2 years to build. And the CCNA process took place December 17, 2021. All right, moving forward, so this is where we plan on relocating, and I believe you all know, Mr. Chuck Conklin just mentioned the area. It's an industrial site. So you can see to the west is the incinerator, so the waste energy facility. And we would like to relocate ourselves in this parcel. If you look towards the east of that waste energy facility, you can see the impound lot, and that's where the main administration building will be located. There's multiple benefits for this relocation. The ride from Spruce Street to McKay Bay facility is 19 minutes in total, and that's without traffic. So imagine a 4 p.m. day, you're finishing your route in a garbage truck, you're sitting at least 40 minutes. And to put that into dollars and cents, let's say 100 people, 100 employees, 30 minutes apiece. At a rate, our average rate for overtime is $32, 4 days a week. That's $330,000 a year that we can potentially be saving by relocating. In addition to that, we will centralize our right now fragmented operation. We will gain efficiency, as I just mentioned, and productivity for our customers, internal and external. We will reduce the vehicle maintenance and fuel usage. As most of you know, 60% of our 140 fleet team is CNG powered, so that's compressed natural gas. And on top of that, we will reduce the impact on the surrounding areas, the noise pollution, the congestion, the traffic congestion, and then they will have the opportunity to revitalize the infrastructure. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the benefits for the employees, our team as well. So we would be able to reduce the mental strain of having to travel throughout traffic to get from the incinerator back to the solid waste facility located on Spruce right now. And in addition, it would improve the work-life balance for our team. So that concludes my presentation, and I want to thank you for your time, of course, and I'll open this up for the CFO, Mr. Rogero. Thank you, sir. No problem.
Good morning, Council. Dennis Rajero, Chief Financial Officer. Of course, you've been given the reasons why we think this is the best course of action. And I use the term course because that's really what this is. We're charting a course, and should Council decide to go with that course, we're offering you a way to pay for it. But if I could, again, clarify a few things. The $220 million that we're referencing is part of the 5-year capital improvement program that we submitted to you earlier this month. We're simply fleshing it out because we have an immediate need for an initial purchase of $17 million. As Councilman Goods was referencing, though, ultimately, should we choose to pursue this course, it's a $220 million plan in those first 3 years. But again, we're not asking you to approve a $220 million plan right now. And Council knows from experience, I would certainly never ask you to approve $220 million worth of debt without the roadshow, the presentation, my internal and external finance team here. So I apologize if the $220 million has been confusing, and I'll address that in just a moment. We're asking for a $17 million contract agreement. We're asking to move some funding internally within solid waste so we can meet that $17 million contract agreement. As part of the capital improvement program, we're letting you know we're looking at a rate study, which will likely, as we've discussed before, lead to some rate increase in the solid waste department. And finally, and this is where I'll bring in the $220 million. In an effort at being as expedient as possible, what we're asking is, should we choose to issue debt, this will allow us, as Councilman Maniscalco was saying, to pay ourselves back from that bond. If we spend $1 now without a reimbursement resolution, I can't capture that back from the bond issuance. Now, having said that, perhaps there is a way forward for this urgent but not emergency need. If the $220 million is causing hesitancy, and again, it still needs to be fleshed out. Again, Council still has 2 public hearings to talk about the budget and the 5-year capital improvement program. I believe it is Council's discretion to amend item number 3, the reimbursement resolution, to coincide with the $17-odd million expenditure. That allows us to start spending money, should you choose to pursue this course, and pay ourselves back with the bond. But I do feel compelled to say, from the finance perspective, and I think the presentation has proved it from the departmental perspective, in the interests of transparency, we felt it would be disingenuous to ask you to make a $17 million decision without knowing that it could lead to this increment, that it could lead to this increment, that it could lead to this increment. That's why we have put together the $220 million presentation. I'll reiterate again, at each and every instant where we'll seek debt for this, we'll come to City Council. We'll give the presentation, and City Council can decide whether to proceed or not. You've heard some of the alternatives if we don't proceed. But again, that will be City Council's decision at that time. At this time, again, because of the volatile nature of price increases, we'd like to go forward with the $17 million expenditure. And from a financial perspective, whatever I can do to make you comfortable with that $17 million, I'll try to do.
Are all of you collectively ready to take questions from council? Or do you want to just ask Mr. O'Hara a question? As I stated earlier, I'd like to be able to ask all staff concerned questions.
Yeah, questions.
Okay. Then let's go with all staff. Councilman Gooch, you're first up.
Most of my questions to Mr. Rajero,
Yes, sir.
Solid Waste has some money that can help with the 17 million, correct?
Yes, sir.
So they can pay themselves back basically on it, right?
Yes.
The bigger question, you look at the overall picture, I look at give an example, yesterday, one of my vehicles was down from Cadillac for like 92 days. Yesterday, the lady calls me and says, you're in need for preventative maintenance. He's come in tomorrow. but that was taken care of. So my question is, if we're looking at preventive maintenance, you never can go back, but you gotta look at that. How in the world, and things do break, they get old. There was no preventive maintenance schedule, seems like. But going forward, once you fix this one section, that's a new pump and engine. Something else gonna break. That's just the nature of it. So the big bottom picture, I wanna know, well, what is it gonna cost? How you gonna break this up? Because the public's gonna say, where's my increase gonna come in?
Mm-hmm. Understood.
Where's the increase? How is that gonna work? You're right, it's an incinerator. Garbage has to be picked up, garbage has to be burned. I wouldn't wanna just talk about having landfills, putting garbage all in landfills. I don't think that's safe for the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Mr. Carlson is right on one aspect. When you bring a project, you may not have all the analysis, but you gotta be able to bring some analysis to the table to say, here's those steps for this $220 million and the period of time it's gonna take, or how we repay ourselves back for that money. So I'm hoping that sooner versus than later that we can have those steps, because I know an incinerator is a big, big deal when you're talking about garbage.
Yes, sir.
And it really can take a city under when you have garbage sitting all over the place in health conditions and so forth. So I'm hoping that in the future you have an actual outline schematic of what it's really gonna cost us, what it's gonna cost the citizens. You never can gauge what it exactly is gonna cost, but an outliner that they're prepared and the citizens have outreach to have their concerns so we can understand, do we need this, or there are all other alternatives to help cut that cost down. That's fair?
Fair, and I absolutely agree. And again, that's one of the things we will task our rate consultant with. Look at all of our needs, whether it is debt service funded, whether council choose not to have an incinerator anymore, for instance. And I don't see that happening, but that would be council's discretion. Look at all of the iterations and all of the scenarios, and what will it take to fund it? To fund it not only reactively for the waste-to-energy plant we're talking about now, but further to your point, proactively, to make sure that the necessary maintenance is funded in perpetuity, really. And that will be part of our scope. And then we'll bring those results to council.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. Along the same lines as Councilmember Goods, when you build something, you know for how long it's going to last, I would assume. So then I think the comparison ought to be made with, if you don't do anything, what's the cost you're going to have to maintain what you have? And what are the risks involved if you don't do anything? So let's go back to the car. I can't tell you that when I buy a new car, I do this and that, because I've never bought a new car. Because I can't afford the depreciation, taking it out, losing $8,000 or $10,000. That's not the way I was brought up. Now they're going to dislike me in the auto industry. So what I'm saying is, when you have an automobile, why do you buy one? Because really you get disgusted with yourself. It ain't about the model, the shine, the grease, and all that kind of flair that they put. Now you can go in a car and do from 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. The problem that I ask myself is, who's not going to give you a ticket? So those are false advertising that they're giving you, so, oh, this car is really fast. But where are you going to, the speedway? We already have enough problems. I mean, let's face it, reality is reality. So you buy a car because the vehicle that you have in front of you is costing you X amount of dollars that if you figure it out for a year or two, you can almost pay off what you're buying. And the one that you buy may even have air conditioning working very well. The one that you have doesn't work too very well. You kick the tires and the rear bumper falls off. Those are the problems that we're facing, but in a larger scale of economy called what we have. So I think in transparency, you got to tell the public, what is it going to cost not to change? If you want to cost what it changes, tell them what it costs not to change.
Agreed.
And you're going to see how things change. No one follows my model, and thank God they do. I don't smoke, I don't drink. That doesn't mean I don't like people who smoke and drink. My wife never smoked, and she never drank. And she died of lung cancer. Figure that out. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I echo that, but I also understand that when you put the incinerator, when you put it in the hands of a contractor, you're just not getting the same level of attention and detail as when you pull it back to the city. So I do want to thank the administration for pulling that back. I think that was wise. I know we have a lot of deferred maintenance that we have to deal with. But the other thing, and I look forward to having an actual presentation about this. I think that would be helpful. Visuals would be lovely, because a lot of us are visual, especially the public, allows them to understand the breakdown of this. But to Councilman Miranda's point, to also discuss, to show us very clearly what inaction means. And the other thing that no one here has mentioned, when we're talking about this larger plan, the 17 million, I'm absolutely inclined to support, no problem. We need to get that started. But when we're looking at the overall plan to move the solid waste and fleet maintenance facilities out of Spruce Street area is the boon to that neighborhood and what that neighborhood has dealt with for so many years, and how much they want that space back, and what we can actually do with that amount of land in that neighborhood. So I really want us to think about the larger picture of that too, because yes, we are doing this, but we are also helping a neighborhood just, I don't even know the changes that they're gonna be able to see, because they don't have to deal with solid waste vehicles and other large fleet maintenance vehicles there. So let's bring that part into that presentation as well, because that's the untold part. Obviously, we have to look at the numbers. That's our job, but we want to share those numbers with the public. But I also want to talk about the amount of land and the possibilities for that neighborhood going forward.
Yes,
Thank you.
Councilman Carlson. Councilman Carlson.
Based on what Councilmember Hurtak just said, I think we ought to have you all, before any kind of rate increase especially, I think you ought to come back for a workshop discussion or some longer conversation. A day like today, we have 125 items on the agenda, and this should take 2 or 3 hours to discuss. This is a major issue. And I would just encourage the administration on any of these major capital projects, please come to us proactively and just have discussions about where these things stand and educate us and the public. It's not, you could have sent us 100 emails about this, but if the public's not reading our emails, they don't know anything about it. The public deserves to know what's going on with it. And so we need to have a fulsome discussion of it. Based on everything I know, I'm in favor of keeping the incinerator, and I voted for it to convert to the city. But what we're realizing now is that we're missing a whole bunch of information, and it worries me because it's similar to Pure, which originally was 300 million, and then it turns out it's between 2 and 6 billion. And then Hannah Avenue, which started out as two buildings for 100 million, then it was one building for 108 million that actually is maybe 220 million, and if you include interest in O&M. And so I think we should be treated with respect and being given the full information. And if you all aren't generating that information, then shame on you all for not doing it. But you need to present it to us as if we don't know anything. No matter what you've briefed us in private, the public deserves to know it, and we need to. The reason why I got upset and angry in the beginning and on the phone call the other day is I think the public deserves to know. And this presentation is not sufficient for the public. Most of the people in the public didn't even know we were going to have this, even though it was on the agenda. People were shocked to see an item that was 220 million. And especially if this is leading to a rate increase, whatever the legal requirement is, we need to do double or triple of that to inform the public. We need to really let them know. When we worked on the pipes increase, there were like 4 or 5 public meetings that maybe 20 or 30 people attended besides staff. I attended more than half of them, and the public, when they got their bills, were upset because they didn't know that the bill was going up. We need to over communicate this and explain what it is. The other thing is I don't like the expectation that city council is a rubber stamp and that we're just going to approve everything, and that a 15-minute or hour-long conversation is enough to get us to approve a rate increase or $220 million. A rate increase in a situation where people are getting kicked out of their homes because they can't afford it is a big deal. That's why, a main reason why I object to Pure also. Why would you double somebody's water rates for something that we don't need? In this case, it looks like we do need it, but we just need to be thorough in how we're explaining it to us and pretend like we're in kindergarten and show us pictures and diagrams and videos if you have it. Show us all the detail you can about it because the public deserves to know all of that. Just a few quick questions. On all these consultants you mentioned, sorry I have to ask this, but was there an RFP process and were there multiple bidders on those contracts?
We haven't gotten that far in the process.
On the planning and evaluation stage, several consultants were mentioned. Were they
Planning and evaluation,
to get to the
oh, I think,
220?
oh, I'm sorry, I think that was Mr. Conklin. I apologize.
The original RFP was put out for the design-build contract. We had three respondents, only two of which showed up for the presentation. The overall best bidder from an EBO standpoint, from everything that was talked about was Charles Perry in Partners Incorporated. So they won this bid. Now, it is a GMP project, so what happens is that we contract with them for design build. They go out and design the retrofit of the plant. They design the components. They go out and they bid what it's going to cost. And then they take those bids and they compile them and they give us the pricing that we're talking about. That's where the 17 million came from.
I would just appreciate, and if we had time, I would ask you a lot more questions about that, but I would just appreciate transparency and all that from the administration. You know, the legal department gave us an opinion on the CCNA process for Hannah Avenue. I've had several other attorneys outside look at it and they think it's bunk. Just because we might be able to squeak through that something's legal doesn't mean that it would withstand outside scrutiny in a lawsuit. And so, you know, we need to be not just careful about that to avoid litigation, but we need to be fair to the public to make sure that things are well advertised and that we get multiple bids. Mr. O'Hara, could I ask you also, when the city decided to make this decision to take over this plant, did you do a 20 or 30 year analysis on what the cost would be?
I don't recall.
Did somebody do an evaluation to say, okay, the boiler's going to need to be replaced in 5 years, or it's been 2 years? You say that it's 8 years, and it's been 8 years since it's been modified. So we've owned it 2 of those years. How come we didn't propose? If we did a pre-evaluation, why didn't we propose this 2 years ago?
I'm not prepared to speak on that. Maybe someone from the department.
From an operational perspective, we were not prepared to determine. We knew the turbine generator had to be overhauled, but we didn't have pricing. We didn't have really much to go on. These projects, by city policy, have to go through CAD, contract administration. And they kind of take that over by entering into an agreement with Charles Perry.
Let me ask you, before they cut me off, let me ask you, sorry, Mr. O'Hara, do you know that, you know, when we were first told about Pure, it was $300 million, but when we asked for the 20 or 30 year cost, it was between 2 and 6 billion, including O&M and interest. Do we know, and it's not an argument against this, but just so the public knows, what is the 20 or 30 year cost, including interest and O&M on this entire plant?
We have to scale that out still. Again,
but when we took it over, we had no idea what that number would be. Like, we must have done some financial projections on if we have 10 million in revenues, and I don't think this is going to increase our revenues, correct? Mm-hmm. We're going to put out the same capacity of electricity. But when we took over the plant, nobody did a projection to figure out what the total 20 or 30 year cost on this would be.
I don't know. I'll have to circle back to you on that.
Does anybody else have an answer to that?
I prefer to circle back.
I don't know why we would take over a plant like that if we hadn't done an evaluation of what it would cost over 20 or 30 years. How could you possibly, you know, that's project management 101.
And I'm not saying we didn't.
but.
I'm saying I don't know.
If there's somebody who's watching, please come up and let us know. How would you, and maybe this is a question for Mr. Conklin, but he said, you know, we want to have success. In 5 or 10 years, how would we measure success? What are our, I know Chief of Staff is all into measures, which I agree with. What are the city's measures of success, or in your experience, what should the measures of success be?
That would come from operational stats and avoided costs for the most part. What we're trying to do is we're trying to bring this plant, this facility, back up to industry standards where it should be, and increase its availability so it's not being, you know, forced down for problems within the plant. Now, with our plan, we're going to see an increase in electrical revenue through increases in electrical production. They're not going to be huge, but they're going to get that turbine generator back to where it should be. They could be a 3%, 4%, or higher increase in efficiency on the turbine. The boilers, for instance, the tubes, some of the tubes are
Can I
getting
just,
thin.
back to my question, do you have a list of goals that say, our objectives for this are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? Here are our goals for this. We want to, an example would be a safety goal, another would be an environmental goal, another one might be a energy production goal, another might be a time in and out goal for the trucks. I mean, does somebody have a performance metric like that?
I do. I have one that shows reliability of the facility, of the boilers, independently, each one and overall. And I also have availability. You know, availability is out of the available time, how much time were the boilers up and running? Burning refuse, producing steam. Reliability, on the other hand, is out of all the downtime on the unit, how much of it was forced compared to how much was scheduled.
I would just, if the Chief of Staff is watching, I would just suggest that we get a list of very clear goals from the community point of view and from a policy point of view that are kind of the overriding goals for this facility, because there's a policy reason why we're doing it. There are always going to be performance metrics, and somehow we need to bring those up to the top level. But if we have those and we can see them, the public can see them, then we can all be on the same page about investments for the future, and we would know how to measure them. My last question is to Mr. Rajero.
Yes.
You must have an idea right now, based on the numbers you have, what you think the rate increase will be. So
We do not.
No idea.
We don't have the expertise, and anything I put out there would be pretty much without value. That's why we're going to go with.
And when are those hearings? Can you, just so the public can know, can you tell us when you have hearings scheduled for rate increase?
We do not. We've got to get the vendor. We're studying a scope now. It's not anticipated to be complete until probably June of next year.
Last comment, I just want to thank all the people working in this department. What you all do is a miracle. I was telling the staff the other day, being able to put our boxes out in front of our house and have that stuff taken away so efficiently. It's got to be one of the best run sanitation departments in the country. And I want to thank everybody for the hard work they're doing. My questions are about making sure that we make the right decisions and the public has full transparency. Thank you.
Councilman Maniscalco.
No, it's all been asked, thank you.
Rapid fire here, please, gentlemen, if you don't mind. I have my list of questions.
Yes, sir.
Rather quickly. Let me go to Mr. Honklin.
Yes, sir.
With the improvements on this, we already have scrubbers that clean the smoke coming out of this, takes away carcinogens, takes away things that are, with the improvements on this, is this turbine and these things going to run much more efficiently so we actually even cut down the pollution that this incident may cause?
Yes.
Thank you.
However, we are already running very low, if I may.
And I'm looking, and all I'm looking for is quick answers on this,
Okay.
please and thank you.
Right.
No, put that back up.
Okay. This shows, we have continuous emissions monitoring on the plant that run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this shows the results of the month of July compared to the limits. If you look where it says opacity, our limit is 10%, but then you look down at At the month-year columns, you can see Unit 1. You can see Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4. Now, Opasa, you can see about 8% with your naked eye. We are below 1%, our limit's 10% for 6 minutes.
And we're doing great. My point is, with this improvement, we're gonna be even better than what these standards are now.
We believe that our emissions will be better through an increase in combustion efficiency. If you're burning cleaner, you're burning better, you're gonna have reduced emissions.
Helping the environment. Mr. Washington.
Sir.
Catastrophe hits.
Yes, sir.
Just give me, give me some wide ranges. The cost that it would cost us to ship all this rubbish and all this trash up to Dade City, if Dade City still wants to take it.
Exactly, great points. I do want to touch on that as well. The life of a landfill, it's limited. You can't just continuously pump waste into the landfills. On average, we take around 40,000 pounds of waste to Dade City. So now imagine 356,000 pounds to Dade City. Tons, exactly, tons. If that were to happen, potentially they have a lifespan of, I believe, 5 to 8 years right now, but that's all dependent on the other municipalities and how much they're bringing to that location. So they may not be able to take it.
Dade City looks at us as a Tampa. We no longer want your garbage because you're polluting our ground. You're polluting our water.
Exactly.
We don't want your garbage anywhere.
Right.
Where's the next closest place?
We can ask Hillsborough County, but they're at capacity as well, or Pasco or Pinellas.
So we'll just be polluting their area.
We'll just be trying to utilize their facilities.
Even though most, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. No problem, sir.
I'm just trying to hit you on this,
All
okay? Even though we have natural gas trucks, hopefully one day we'll go to electric, which we don't have, we're putting fossil fuel into the air each time those trucks run back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
We sure are, and the CNG stations that we currently have fit our current outfit. So if we were going out to Pinellas on a consistent basis, we may not be able to fill up our CNG vehicles. So we may have to switch to diesel vehicles for this operation.
This plant closes down, how much staffing are going to be lost?
Lost or included. We would have to plus up to haul the amount of trash that is produced. But the amount of people that are located at
the staffing
the
from this plant be
55
absorbed
people
into the rest of waste management?
We would hope, but
Not
they don't have the same
guaranteed.
skill sets.
Not guaranteed.
No, sir.
The plant employs 55 people, so we would lose the majority of them. The skill set is completely different.
Yes.
It's highly
Thank you so
technical
much.
at the plant. Yeah.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes, sir.
we've heard lots of numbers going back and forth. The broader picture is this is going to help us environmentally. This is going to help from polluting other parts of the state, which we don't want to do. And we're guaranteeing, hopefully guaranteeing jobs will be saved if in case something terrible happens.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you.
May I move the resolution?
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I had just one more question. I'm thinking about, for when you bring this back in front of the public, we are growing at an alarming rate. It's a good rate, but it's still pretty alarming, and doesn't sound like we're adding any incinerators. So what's the plan about more garbage?
Yeah, so we're talking about that right now. Let me bring Chuck up.
No, I don't want to know
No, we're
now.
we're looking at that.
And so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you come back to us,
Yeah.
please let us know, because the amount of garbage that we produce has got to change if we're going to bring all these new people.
That's a good point. Yes, ma'am.
If I may, to close.
Councilman
I just got,
Miranda.
no, I remember, the more I sit here and the more I listen, the more I want to speak, because I remember way back when all the alleys were open, you had a van that went by a truck that was open, that maybe had a 3 foot by 8 foot by 16 or 20 foot, and you had a driver, you had 2 pushers, and you had a catcher. You had 4 people on the truck, and it was an open truck, and guess what? If you want to hear smell, follow the one things around the roads of Tampa. That has been changed. So now through evolution and new inventions, you have a different thing. Now you're getting gas trucks. However, those gas trucks, in my estimation, cost $750,000. What's coming to you now is $1 million truck, which is electric. And what I see coming, even in Germany now, they got, you know what kind of trains they got running? With hydrogen. So these are things of evolution that we have to accept, because these are the things that are going to change. If we keep going to where we're going, you don't have to worry about this or anything else. You won't be able to sleep, you won't be able to walk, you won't be able to handle the rain, you won't be able to handle the temperature, you won't be able to handle nothing. Thank you very much, have a nice day.
Thank you.
What is the pleasure of council?
Move number 5, the resolution.
A motion by Councilman Maniscalco,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Miranda. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to state for the record, I'm shocked at the discussions we've had today and the one I had on the phone the other day. I'm shocked at the staff, and I'm talking about upper management staff, shocked at the lack of interest in being transparent and spending time with the public to discuss these issues. I'm shocked that they hit us with large numbers at the last minute. And I'm shocked that they can't answer basic questions about the strategy and takeover of this facility. The questions I asked are the most basic questions you would ask anybody in operating a major facility, and they couldn't answer the questions. And so there's no way I'm going to vote to give them $1 because I don't have faith in their interest in being respectful of us and the public, and I don't have faith in their ability to manage this money correctly. If they want to come back, you probably will get the votes today, but if they want to come back and be transparent and respectful of the public, then I may build confidence. But I'd like to hear the answers to the questions before I vote on anything large like this. Thank you.
Councilman Goods.
I'm gonna support it today because I know you need to move on, but I'm gonna, I don't wanna bash the administration or Sal, you guys, but I sit here and I listen, and like I tell you, every one of this council has a certain expertise of things. Obviously, Mr. Miranda knows water, Mr. Carlson knows water. I'm not the water guy. I deal with communities and housing, things like that. Not a solid waste guy, but I have common sense to know about garbage. You have to take care of that plant to make it work for the citizens. But he's right. Some basic questions he did ask, and when I talked about pre-maintenance, things like that, we couldn't have the answers for. So I think when you come back, and in future, listen to other staff members, you need to come more prepared on the basic answers because he's right. Some things that we should know off the top of our head of what's the long-term goal, plans. We don't have any of those. So I'm hoping in the future when we come back with these items that we will have the plan, we'll have the basic answers, so we won't get in these kind of squabbles, I call them, of the administration feeling bad, or someone making me feel bad, or what have you. Council has to answer to the public. That's our job. Whether anybody likes it or not, when the public tells us what they want or asks what they want, the administration may not like it, but we have to ask the tough question. It's their money. So I'm going to support it today, number 5. So I'm hoping that the rest, when it comes back, that we're a little bit more detailed to what we have to get out. Thank you, sir.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I'm also going to support this today, but I also agree with my 2 colleagues that this is incredibly important that we have these types of answers. I'm going to support both 5 and 6 because they're basically intertwined, but I absolutely want to know these more basic questions, the answers to, so that we can answer our constituents. I mean, I would say that Councilman Goods is right. We all have our specialties, and this is not my specialty. So I definitely need to be taught. I want the basic, as Councilman Carlson put it, kindergarten, like, introduction. So give us lots of pictures, give us lots of, numbers. Just help us absorb it so that we can explain it to others, because that's actually what we do. We're teachers. Y'all are teaching us, and then we have to go out and teach the community. And if we don't have that, if we don't understand it, then we can't do that. So that's a really good point. So I will be supporting this today, but yes, we do need to have that public discussion.
Any other comments? Roll call vote.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Carlson?
Nope.
Goods?
Yes.
Vieira?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
Motion carried with Carlson voting no.
What is the pleasure of council on agenda item number 6?
Move item number 6, move the resolution.
Second. Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilwoman Hurtak. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Carlson,
No.
Goods,
Yes.
Viera, Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried with Councilmember Carlson voting no.
What is the pleasure of council on agenda item number 7?
Move item number 7.
Second. A motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, real quick. And what I wanted to mention earlier, looking at the bigger picture and moving the facility from Spruce over to Ybor City, Adamo, 34th, what is that, 18 acres of land that'll be freed up? And
17.5.
And when we talk about affordable housing, when we talk about opportunities, that's our property, that's city-owned, in the heart of my district, give or take. It's, you know, in a very busy area, Carver City, Lincoln Gardens, West Shore area. We have a great opportunity there. Not to sell it, but to keep it within our jurisdiction and do something even more beneficial for the community. On top of what was mentioned earlier, and thank you for Councilwoman Hurtak for bringing this up, the community that's been dealing with, you know, having all that there, now there's, you know, sky's the limit. 18 acres is a lot. We see Midtown right around the corner. I know it's a bigger parcel, but we see what was developed there, but what we could use as city property. So there's a lot of opportunity in this $220 million, you know, master plan. But that was it. I just want to mention that. So move the resolution. I already did.
Councilman Goods.
And I missed that in my thought, but Councilwoman Hurtak brought it up. I see Ms. Travis in the audience. So I'm hoping that these discussions are happening with her, because I will not support any land sale that does not have a robust plan for Lincoln Gardens, Carver City, and affordable housing. And I'm talking about real development that will help people. Not talking about luxury apartments, not talking about luxury townhomes, mixed use, but making sure that anybody can, because that is city property. I want to make that clear. That is city property, and I will not support anything that is not going to be able to deal with the situation we're dealing with in this city. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Goods,
Yes.
Viera,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yeah, no.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried with Councilmember Carlson voting no.
Councilwoman Hurtak, since they're under your committee, would you like to move items number 69 and 70?
I would like to do that. I move 69 and 70.
A motion made by Councilwoman Hurtak, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. Chair.
Before,
Councilman
could I
Carl.
make a quick motion before they leave? I would like to make a motion to ask staff to return to the workshop on October 27th to talk about the 30-year plan and policy objectives of this incinerator.
Second, that's fair, and I think the public deserves, as Councilmember Carlson said, the public deserves to know this is a lot of money. $251 million was a stormwater assessment in 2016. That was a big discussion. I think this clearly merits that, especially if there's going to be rate increases, whatever. I want complete clarity, and I have confidence in your team, and I totally support that. Yes, sir.
We have a motion made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask, there's a couple of folks that I see, I think there's about the downtown and the West Shore, maybe we can have them talk about their things that comes on a yearly item, so we can get them going to go back to their businesses.
If you want to take that out of order, you can, but those are public hearings and you'd have to open the
I'm sorry.
public hearing, so.
Move to open the public hearing
Second.
regarding West Shore and then
Downtown development, downtown.
Yes, downtown West Shore, all the ones that are pertaining to the special taxing.
That's 101,
Yep.
102, 103, 104
Let's start with then, agenda item number 101.
through 107. There you go. 106, sorry.
Move to open 101 through, is it 106 or 107?
106.
Okay, 106.
Mr. Bide.
Morning, Chair. Morning, Council. Vic Pide, Mobility Department, here to discuss items 101 and 102. These are annual assessment rolls for the stormwater service and improvement assessment. The service assessment is for maintenance of the stormwater system across the city. This includes ditch maintenance, outfall maintenance, and various other aspects. The improvement assessment is related to our capital program, for which we do provide a quarterly report of our capital improvement projects with stormwater, and we have several large stormwater projects going on currently around the city. This is an annual process right before budget approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Bide?
No, Chairman,
Councilman
thank you very
Miranda.
much. Very quickly, I know I had a discussion with Mr. Vijay and very, very well conversation regarding these type of taxes and so forth. The problem that we have is that once we pass something here in City Council, there's not a check and balance as to what happens to the front of that building regarding how much payment or how many pavers. It's passed today, but tomorrow when these pavers go on, and he agreed, I believe, and I did, in theory, that they don't know what's happening. So when they come in for a permit, they give them the permit. However, if something happens and I do something wrong, the fellow who I sell the house to, he may be the one to get ticketed for something that he didn't even know about. So, in that spirit of conversation, of meeting and helping everyone, because these things now are much more being done than before, and we have to have a way that once we pass something like this, or something to do with a swale next to a house, when we do that, that is put on the docket, so when they record it, they go to get their permit done, it's recorded in the county what we passed. Because if you don't do that, the swale gets covered, somebody else floods. If we don't do that, the sidewalk is there maybe, but then the pavers that go out, or the concrete that goes out to the street, they're paying very little when they should be paying a lot more. So the rest of us are subsidizing someone else for what they've done. I'm just, now we have an attorney here. And a very well good attorney.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Council. Item 101 is your
Give us your
stormwater.
name, please.
Oh, sorry, McLean Evans, Assistant City Attorney.
Thank you.
Item 101 is the stormwater service assessment role. It's a public hearing where public comment must be heard. We received 2 letters of objection for your consideration. Please receive and file those for this hearing.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you. Those are also available for the public to review and sire. And may I remind the council that in these non-ad valorem assessment hearings, the vote must take place while the hearing is still open. I believe the Director of Mobility, Vic Bide, is available by CCMT, and I'm also here for any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff? Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak to agenda item 101, file number E2022-8, chapter 21?
Move the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goulds.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 102, file number E2022-8, chapter 21.
Good afternoon, Chair and Council. McLean Evans, Assistant City Attorney. This is the public hearing on the non-ad valorem assessment for the Stormwater Capital Improvement Assessment Role. We received one letter of objection for your consideration. Please receive and file that.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And again, if I could just remind you that the vote has to take place while the hearing is still open.
Any questions for staff or Mr. Bede? Is there anyone in chambers that would like to comment to agenda item number 102?
Move the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Goods.
Yes.
Maniscalco. Vieira.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Mr. Massey, you wanted to add something?
No, I'm just waiting for 103, so.
And then
Agenda item number 103, file number E, 2022-8, chapter 24.
This is the non-ad valorem assessment that's passed every year to support the operation of the streetcar special assessment. I think Mr. English is online to present that to you all. As with the other special assessment hearings, you must consider and vote on this while the public hearing is still open. So.
Mr. English, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and council members. Thank you so much. I'm here to ask for your support, as I've been doing for 20 years, for the special assessment to support the operations of the streetcar system. This assessment is it really accounts for well over 30% of the streetcar's budget. I assume you know that we've had a very good year this year, carrying nearly 1 million people. Our budget next year is a little higher than this year's. To add service, we are adding conductors, and we are increasing headways, which means the amount of time it takes for the streetcar to arrive at a station from 15 minutes, which is our new standard, to 12 minutes during peak hours. So we're very proud of our performance in the past year, and we would ask for your support for the coming year.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Of course, I'm going to support this. I've been vocal in support of the streetcar, and I look forward to all for transportation passing so we can have a dedicated funding source to help expand the streetcar into Tampa Heights and beyond. Mr. English already talked about 1 million people riding. We've seen the numbers go up, especially with the grant that we received from FDOT and allowing us to operate the streetcar and offer no fares. That's encouraged people that would have not usually ridden the streetcar, or a new population to start using it. And as people have gotten used to using it, I think we'll see continued success again once AFT passes and we are able to expand this forward. I know the mayor talks about taking it to Palm Avenue. We had a robust streetcar system until 1946. I hope over the years that we continue expanding that to continue serving the community. So,
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I echo that. As someone who rides the streetcar at least once a week, I am thrilled about this new plan to run every 12 minutes instead of 15. It will actually really help a lot of people. I am constantly amazed at the number of riders and the types of riders. I talk to tourists all the time when I'm on there. I talk to people who work for the city. I talk to yesterday I rode the streetcar with folks who were leaving their nursing school from the new USF health space. So it really has just changed the city, and I'm absolutely agree that passing all for transportation would add to that support of the streetcar system.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, I'm going to approve this in my vote. It's incumbent to let you know that when I was a young kid, about 2 years ago, I used to ride that streetcar for a nickel. And it had 50-some miles of it. It went all the way from Ballast Point all the way to Limeball and Florida Avenue. Not only to mention Hyde Park, Ybor City, East Tampa, all over. And the problem was in the 50s, General Motors came up with buses And they said we were idiots to have a streetcar where we should go to buses. Well, we did, and we were idiots. Now we don't have a streetcar to speak of other than what we have now, and that was put in by the Greco administration, who also rode the streetcar for a nickel, but he was much older than I was. And what I'm trying to say, it's a compliment, Mr. Greco. And that was done by the Greco administration, Ron Rotel and the rest of them trying to get it through. And I think when we voted on it, I believe the cost was 11 million. I'm not sure of that. But if you do that today, what would the cost be? Thank you very much. Have a nice day, sir.
Any other questions? Resolution? Oh, is there any public comment?
Move the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goulds.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes,
Motion carried unanimously.
thank you. Mr. Massey.
Thank you, Ms. Hurtak and gentlemen.
Item 104 is the annual non-ad valorem assessment role to support the Downtown Special Services District. I think Miss Linda Raymond from the Downtown Partnership is here to present. We levied this special assessment for, or non-ad valorem assessment to support special services in the downtown and channel side areas primarily, so.
Yes, thank you. Linda Raymond with the Tampa Downtown Partnership, President and CEO. Our offices are located at 400 North Ashley Street, Suite 1010. And Councilman, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for having us today. I am here to ask you for consideration of adoption of the non-ad valorem for the downtown district so that we can provide enhanced services regarding business development, marketing, maintenance, safety, beautification, planning, urban design, transportation services, and related administrative costs. As you know, we've been in existence since 1994 for the Special Services District, and that assessment rate is set at 1.0285 per $1,000 of assessed property values, which is expected to raise about $4.6 million for this next year. So I ask for your consideration and adoption of that so that we can continue services and the adoption of the special services agreement that we have with the City of Tampa and the Tampa Downtown Partnership. Thank you.
And before you all discuss and move on this item, there is one letter in opposition that that's on file in Siren. I think you all received. If you could move to receive and file that letter.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposed?
And secondly, it's not only the ad valorem role, but there is an agreement between the city and the Downtown Partnership. The Downtown Partnership does administer those funds and those special services on behalf of the city pursuant to that agreement.
Okay, any discussion, any questions? Councilman Miranda.
I just want to say thank you and your whole staff for what they've done. Downtown couldn't be any cleaner. You've done a fantastic job, and everywhere you see the individuals wearing their shirts with who they are and what they do, and I even seen some giving cars a battery thing so they can start the car up. And just thank you. The pleasant to the eye, the big bows that you put up are fantastic. Maybe, just maybe, if you have something left over, I'd like to see some hanging plants so that more visual to the eye from the street lights that we have. It would be an addition that is very pleasant to the eye. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there any public comment?
Move the first resolution.
Second.
The non-ad valorem assessment.
Have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goulds.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
And move the second resolution for the Special Assessment Services Agreement.
Second.
Have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goose. Roll call vote.
Hurtak. Yes. Carlson.
Yes.
Goulds.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Agenda item number 105, file number E2022-8, chapter 24.
Mr. Chair, this is a public hearing on to consider the adoption of the non-ad valorem assessment role for special services within the West Shore area of the city of Tampa. There's also a resolution, companion resolution approving an agreement between the city of Tampa and the West Shore Alliance to receive those funds and administer those funds for those services on behalf of the city. I think Mr. Michael Marino is here from the West Shore Alliance to present.
Yes, good afternoon, Chairman and council members. I'm Michael Marino. I'm the Executive Director of the West Shore Alliance. We are seeking your support today to renew the Special Services District in the West Shore District. The rate is not changing, and the overall assessment will be $792,000, roughly thereabouts. The funds go for transportation, marketing, and safety and security programs, and if not, I'm here to answer any questions. Otherwise, I look forward to working with you to improve the West Shore District and the city of Tampa. Thank you.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Marino?
Again, just say thank you for what you've done. You set the tone here when you were an aide, and now we're aides to you. How about that?
Yes, the District 7 Alumni Association thanks you for your support.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I just want to say, Mr. Marino took me on a tour of the West Shore Alliance just recently, and it was really great to see all the things that the Alliance is doing, the plans they have, and so I support this, and I look forward to seeing more of what the Alliance can help accomplish through their district.
Any other questions or comments? Is there public comment?
Move the resolution, the first one for the non-ad valorem assessment.
Have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goode. Roll call vote.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Move the second resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Is there any discussion? Is there any comment from the public? Roll call vote.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Vieira. Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 106, file number E 2022-8, chapter 24.
Good morning, Rebecca Johns, Assistant City Attorney. This is a homeowner association initiated special assessment application to pay for streetlights in the neighborhood of Post Tops on West Spanish Main neighborhood. The proposed assessment for 2022 would be $2.14 per lot, which would generate a total of $72.76 total revenue for 2023. The special assessment for 2023 would be a maximum of $55.75 per lot. This assessment would continue for 20 years. The resolution presented to you also approves the required agreement between the city and the tax collector for services relating to the assessment. And just a reminder that your vote needs to also occur during the public hearing. The applicant is here if you have any questions.
Any comments or questions for the applicant? Seeing none, is there any public comment to agenda item number 106?
Move the resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Second the resolution. I got Massey on the gun right there. I want to see how quick he was. He was quicker than what I thought.
I see his hand.
I thought he had a rubber band in his sleeve.
Mr. Bede, anything you'd like to add to this?
This is a routine assessment. Anytime we have a homeowners association requiring streetlights, we come to council for this. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bede. Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Hurtak.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods. Vieira. Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
And we are hearing 107.
I think we opened through 106. If you want to
Okay.
open 107 as well, we can, but I think the clerk had wanted a quick motion to close those public hearings that we opened.
Move to close 101 through 106.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Are we hearing 107? Nope. Okay.
All right, second.
We can go to 107 if you want. I can present on 107 if you want to hear that, or you want to go back to your regular staff portion of the agenda.
I think we're going to lunch, so
Lunch
do we?
break, okay.
So do we want to hear 107 now when we have the opportunity? Okay, let's hear item agenda number 107, CRA 22-76121. Uh-oh. I think Ms. Travis is saying, no, we don't want to hear that now. We want to wait until we come back from lunch.
It's pretty simple. I don't think it would take long.
All right,
All right, what you have before you is action that you've seen at your Nicole Travis, Administrator of Development and Economic Opportunity, and your interim CRA Director. You heard, you took this up at your CRA recently, at your CRA meeting. This is really the public hearing for proposed modifications to the Channel District CRA that would amend or restate or supersede the existing CRA plan. Anything?
any comments or questions for Ms. Travis?
And this is a public hearing, so you should ask for public comment first.
I was going to do that next. Any public comment to agenda item number 107?
Move to close.
A motion to close by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Who would like to move the resolution?
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods, Vieira, Maniscalco, Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
It is now 12:35. Council, would you like to come back at 1:30 or 2? 2 o'clock.
Second.
We are in recess.